the tweets was. I thought it was funny.
Okay.
5 hours. What date was that?
Hi, everybody. We're on air now. It's my channel, my secondary channel, Prince of Queens live streams, which doesn't have a whole shit ton of subscribers or anything, but I thought that my live streaming was going to be enabled now, but it turns out that I have to wait a few more hours. If apparently if you get your live streaming disabled, it gets re-enabled 3 months from the moment that it gets disabled, exactly to the hour, to the minute. And it does not tell you which hour in the day it is. So it tells you February 11th, 2018, but it doesn't tell you what time. And so I scheduled a stream for my main channel, and it is, you get it. So I'm joined today by Lord Nurgle, who you might have encountered before.
Behold, Flam Chaos. Continue.
Yeah,
that's what I say that every time people introduce me. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. He's been my friend for a while, and he's into nerdy stuff. We've talked about that a bit. And then I'm also joined today with Yellow Flash, who is a pretty new channel, who has been in the thick of what is being called ComicsGate. And we have been, I've been tuning in a little bit, like just enough to realize that there's like really something going on. And I kind of want to have a bigger a sense of what's going on, a greater understanding of it, because I potentially want to make some videos about kind of like maybe a For Dummies type ComicGate video, because I think that it deserves attention that it's not getting.
It's starting to get it now a little bit.
Yeah,
it's blowing up now, man.
It is. It certainly is. But I think that there are I think that the people that are into it are people who are really into comics, and I feel like I'm in a unique position to help with a For Dummies version, at least to my audience, because of the fact that I am into comics, and I like to think I have a pretty good understanding of media, like weird media happenings in relation to politics. So I wanted to discuss those things, and I just wanted to talk about just comics in general, and just get to know each other a little bit about that kind of thing, and like our histories of growing up with comics and that kind of thing. So that's why I called for this stream. It would have been a little bit different if it was on my big channel, but oh well.
The ComicsGate thing, there's definitely people that aren't into comics that are in it. That's for sure. There's a lot of people that comment on my videos and say, I don't like comics really, but they kind of tune in for the drama, because there's so much drama going on. It's ridiculous. And it's all with these soft ass SJW comic pros that seem to think if you criticize them, that's some kind of like racist or sexist thing or something. They're just soft people.
Yeah, we got that a lot when we were dealing with that shit in the Gamergate stuff. I don't know. Were you involved with Gamergate in any Yellow Flash?
I was not in Gamergate. I did hear about it, but I was not in it.
Yeah, this really is from I was involved with Gamergate back when it first started, and then I remember seeing the rumblings of ComicsGate starting. It was actually ComicsGate was starting to happen a little bit while Gamergate was happening. It just recently started to really kick off, from what I can tell. If I'm not correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you've been heavily more involved in it than I have.
Yeah, I kind of jumped in during the middle of it, finding a Diversity in Comics channel. Him and Captain Cummings are probably the two biggest ones, I think, in ComicsGate, because DNC's got like 50,000 subs, and then Captain Cummings has like, I think he's about to hit 20,000. And I just wanted to jump in and get involved, and started covering all these people going crazy on Twitter. And I went from like 20 subs to I'm pretty close to 3,000 now in like 3 months. I don't know if that's good or bad or fast, but I never even thought I would hit a 500. You know what I'm saying? So
No, that's good. It's good. I never I wait, no, I started following Diversity in Comics some number of months ago. I subscribed to him because um I liked that he was, really actually going into depth about the comics and talking about them and then also criticizing them. He was doing something that nobody else was doing.
yeah, he's very knowledgeable. He used to do some small work, I guess, in the industry. I think he's like 40, at least close to 40, if not. And he's been into comics his whole life. And like, he can tell you a lot of things that, I can't tell you because I don't know anything about art techniques or anything like that. I'm just a fan of the books.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you how old you are?
32.
32. Okay, I'm 36.
Okay.
And yeah, I got into comics when I was probably must have been okay. So my sisters, my oldest sister, who's 9 years older than myself, she read comics back when it was the 1980s, and she was into ElfQuest and also X-Men, X Factor, the New Mutants, and stuff like that, and then eventually Sandman and shit like that. And when she got into the gothy comics, then she decided that she was over the superhero comics, and she gave them all to me one Christmas, and that was really sweet because I had like a gigantic stack of X-Men and X Factor that I read backwards and forwards for the next 2 years, and that was kind of my introduction to comics, and that was in the late 80s, maybe early 90s was when I was reading those. And
it was the X Factor with Cable then?
No, before that, actually. This
the
was
one with the original X-Men?
Yeah. When it was
wow.
yeah, when it was basically the original X-Men had to have their new team because the X-Men had been taken over by a bunch of fucking, I don't know, newbies or whatever.
I would argue the better team.
Yeah, who was
the team with Wolverine and Storm and
Wolverine, Storm, Dazzler, Longshot.
That was like right around what I keep thinking of it it's like X-Men. There's like X-Men Blue Team, and they have the Gold Team. I got into comics back when it was mostly X-Men when I got into it. And it was because of the cartoon show. That's when I started looking deeper at comic books, and then I even discovered Spider-Man through that and whatever. But I remember that time frame was that's the only time I remember was back when the X-Men were the Gold Team and the Blue Team. That's the only thing I can remember because it was so many years since I've read the X-Men. I just won't read anything Marvel now. I have a problem with reading anything Marvel today.
It's all mostly trash. They're all trash books now. The X-Men they haven't been good for a long time because they got mad because they wanted the movie rights back from Fox, and Fox wouldn't give it to them.
Well, yeah, like Fox did everything to hold on to it, and they that's why they killed Wolverine or whatever, was to try to like play hardball. They were like, oh, fine, we could kill him off. Ain't nobody gonna like him anymore, or whatever. But I stopped reading Marvel a long time ago. I got back into DC originally when Injustice 1 dropped. That made me start reading comic books again, which was like right around when New 52 was starting to ramp up. And I was starting to read all that, and I was liking a lot of what I was reading, and then I just stopped because I started seeing the social justice trend, and I was just getting tired of being preached when I read the books. Like, what book was it? What really made me stop was that Angela, Queen of Hell book, the one I make fun of all the time, the Unsolicited Opinions of Israel. When I saw that, it was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, was that? She used to be in Spawn's universe, didn't she?
Yeah, there was something.
Yeah, they had her in Israel.
No, she wasn't in Israel. It was Are you familiar with the writer Margaret Bennett or Marguerite Bennett?
Probably.
She writes
I'm sure I've roasted her.
You probably have. I know she does. She started off doing the Rebirth version of Batwoman, and she also does DC Bombshells.
The Batwoman, Batwoman Rebirth. I thought, because I know that book was really popular for a while, and I think it kind of lost some of its steam. But I know Batwoman is generally a character people like.
Oh, I know. She's one of my faves.
She was first introduced in the original 52, right?
I don't remember. I think she was before 52. I think she was before New 52.
Not New 52.
Whatever, just normal DC, and then it went into Flashpoint, and then it became New 52, and then
so original 52 was before Flashpoint, because I didn't the only post Flashpoint thing that I've read was the 2012 run of Suicide Squad, because I saw the preview for the movie and I thought it looked really cool, so I went and got a bunch of the graphic novels at this fucking store. But prior to that, I hadn't been really reading comic books that much, and when I would get them used, and wasn't, I would just grab a graphic novel that looked interesting, and one of the last things that I read all of was the original 52 series, which came out in, I think, 2006 or so, and it the whole point of it was that it was supposed to be 52 weeks or 52 weeks long, and an issue released every week, and the caveat was that Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman were all gone for separate reasons, and this is what happens when the three most important heroes are all gone, and all this crazy stuff happened. And then they decided that, I think after Flashpoint, or maybe not after, but they decided to start the New 52, and instead of it being what it was like, it was the 50. It represented the 52 multiverses, because there were only 52 multiverses supposedly all of a sudden, and it didn't really make sense, and that's why people hate the New 52. Somebody was explaining this to me recently. Does that compute with you guys?
With the DC stuff, I was always reading the graphic novels until recently. I've been reading all DC because the Marvels have been so bad. But from what I remember, like the DC New 52 stuff, the biggest thing that I remember going on with that was that was their SJW push, and it failed miserably, and that's why they're doing Rebirth.
Well, the original 52 was fucking good. Like, that was an epic run. Like, it had Grant Morrison writing on it and shit, and Grant Morrison is one of my favorite authors of all time. I mean, he had some pretty cringy stuff, but
he was writing Batman, I believe, right?
He wrote a lot of crap. Like, he's written Justice League, and I
know, but I mean, like during the New 52 era.
When I say it, I'm referring to the original 52. The New 52 and the original 52 is very different. Like, there was the original 52 series, which was supposed to be a one-off. It was supposed to be 52 completely unique books, and it was a kind of a confined storyline that was supposed to take place over the arc of a year, and it had 4 different writers working on it, and it was what happened when Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were all gone. And basically, long story short, what happened was a bunch of crazy shit happened, and Black Adam got pissed off really bad and ran around the world killing everybody. And nobody was there to stop him, because Black Adam's really strong. And then that ended, and then for some fucking reason they decided to reboot 52, and that was the New 52, and everybody fucking hates it.
Oh, I'm looking at that panel he sent me. This is trashy shit.
That's the writer of current Batwoman now, man. I was anyway. That's part of the reason why I started getting involved, and I did like a video. I was talking about this and a lot of the other shit. when Wonder Woman was bitching about mansplaining and all sorts of weird
Oh,
stuff.
good God.
Yeah, New 52, it started strong and it just rapidly declined. And I think that's why when you see with DC, they flirt with some of that stuff, but they haven't really jumped the gun on it.
Wonder Woman would never talk about mansplaining. She would just say, "Shut the fuck up."
She did.
No.
No, I know.
Woman-
I believe that
Wonder
she
Woman was a
did.
dumpster fire for a long time under Greg Rucka.
I
Yeah,
fucking hate
but,
that
like,
dude.
The original Wonder Woman, she wouldn't talk about it because she wouldn't need to. She would just be like, "Shut up."
She can be a popular character under the new. I guess the new Wonder Woman book is good. I like the character when she's written like she should be, like a thirsty for battle, loving war person. Their whole thing with her is like she just, if she gets in a fight, she won't stop until she's either dead or wins. And they don't write her like that. They write her like a, big feminist. But I guess the new guy is actually having her be a badass again. So maybe it's worth looking at again.
So Rucka actually is gone now because I was
He's not
I
gone.
was so
He's still
pissed.
around.
I was so
I don't
pissed
know what
when
he's
he
working on now,
didn't
though.
because that was another thing. I remember there was all this issues going on with covers with variant covers. Frank Cho did one for is it Frank Cho? He did one for Spider-Woman, I think. And they made a big deal out of that. And
Was that when
they
she
made
was
a big
pregnant?
deal out of the Batgirl cover that Cam Stewart was railing on about it. And it sort of felt like a manufactured outrage because if you looked up Cam Stewart, or if you looked into it, it was a variant cover that was leaked, and Cam Stewart was very vocal about how sexist it was. And fucking suddenly it got changed by DC, and the artists got into some shit over it, whatever. But
Yeah, this just happened with Marvel too, with John Malin. He was one of the guys I had on my stream the other day. Had his Cable cover, and they changed Blink's breasts down because they thought they were too revealing.
I saw
Wonder
that.
Woman 2 recently, because she had panty line showing when she was like in a battle pose on the cover. They actually cropped her ass out of the cover so you couldn't see her panty line.
They actually did some weird shit like that with the Injustice 2 game with her, actually. If you look at her ass in the game, all of her default costumes, she has this weird like extra blue or red lip over her ass that covers the panty line. It looks very strange. It looks like it was not meant to be there at all.
Yeah, I believe it.
But at least that game is amazing still. But
I played the story.
Is great.
Yeah. I'm waiting for them to release it a complete edition, and then I'll probably pick it up when they do that.
I don't blame you. Injustice, it's been going on for so long. I was actually surprised it went on as long as it did because they did the prequel part to it. Then they've done the actual story and everything that happened after the first game. And now what happened before and what's going on in the game. It just keeps growing. It's become its own thing, actually, which I think is amazing because they have such good writers on it. And for it being a video game based property too, because those usually have terrible stories. And if you're into competitive fighting games like myself, it's definitely worth playing.
Yeah, I haven't been until recently. I've been playing a lot of Dragon Ball Fighters, which I love a lot. It's a really fast pace and fun. And I guess it's the same people that made like Guilty Gear and Blue Blaze and stuff.
Yeah, Arc System Works. That's the one that everybody's playing right now. My buddies, before we ran our Dark Souls race last night, they were playing nothing but Dragon Ball Fighters. I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. I've been too sucked into Breath of the Wild and Monster Hunter World lately.
I want to get Monster Hunter World.
It's so fun, but it's got so much to learn to it. And I don't know if you're into Dark Souls either. The combat is very Dark Souls-like.
Yeah,
I have never played Dark
Souls.
Souls.
What's up, Flash?
I just got my because I got a gaming PC now, and I bought Dark Souls 3 again because it was like $12 in the Humble Bundle.
Oh, that game's just worth it no matter what, man.
Yeah,
Did you get the DLC too?
Yeah, I got one of them. I think it's the the one in Snowland or whatever. I never played. I've beaten Dark Souls 3 on PlayStation, but I never played the DLC.
Yeah, Ashes of Arendelle, that's the one you're talking about. That one, that shit is hard. Like, that world or that expansion is hard. I haven't got to play the Ring City yet because, well, I just don't ever get time to play games.
Yeah, I don't
too
get that much
fucking
time to play
busy. Managing my family and my job and the YouTube channel, it gets difficult as hell.
Yeah, the YouTube channel is almost like a job in itself once you get going with it.
Oh, yeah, and you got to be so consistent. Like, I'm trying to get on a schedule, so I have something new every Monday and every Wednesday, but just as soon as I record something, like I did, I recorded my video on John Malin, actually. And as soon as I did that, the shit with Ethan Van Skeever cropped up. I was like,
Oh,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ. Like, I can't keep up with this.
There's always something.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, man.
I've been on Twitter all day because that that list I made. I don't know if you've seen that list I put out on Twitter.
My last Thursday night stream, we actually talked a lot about your list, and we actually read the whole thing out.
There's a couple names on there that probably shouldn't be on there. There was 4 of us that really collaborated on that, but I'm kind of the figurehead of it, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, yeah, I get you.
But
go ahead.
Oh, are you worried that I feel like maybe you said this before, but maybe clarify? Because are you worried that people are going to accuse you of sort of organized malice?
See, they already accuse us of that.
Okay.
I mean, even if you just tell them that you don't like their book or that you don't, if you come to them even with constructive criticism, these people are doing exactly what the anti-Gamergate people are doing during that whole time. You know, they come in and it's oh, the readers are the problem, the fans are the problem. They're all sexist, they're all racist. It's time. Comic books are not for you anymore. This is a revolt against you. You know. And
or like there's all these potential comic fans out there, but they're being oppressed by the fans that are currently buying the books, and we just need to make them more accessible to them, and then everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of business school they went to, but that's not how things work. Like, they wanted to ditch their whole prime audience and then, you know, introduce all these new characters, which is fine. You know, you want to make some subtle changes here and there, but they changed everything at once.
They went to Little Miss Goody Two Shoes school for organized communists.
Well, oh, yeah. And that's, that's the thing, though, too. And I mean, we're talking about the social justice people, as I like to call them. I call them the Cultus Sociali Justitia. Basically, it's Latin for social justice. The cult of social justice, I mean, what they do, and they did this in gaming, they've done this in comics, they're doing it in Magic the Gathering, they're doing it with tabletop games as well. They come in and basically they dig in deep, they say, none of this is for you anymore, we're taking over, and they start to push people out, like as you see with Ethan Van Skeever, where they're trying to smear campaign him, and trying to smear John, as well as DNC and all the other, and a bunch of other creators and great writers. I mean, they went after Stan Lee, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, no, that I made a whole video about it. I think you guys saw it, and yeah, I mean,
somebody posted your video. That's how I watched. That's how I found your channel. Somebody posted your Stan Lee video.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I saw that was making the rounds on Twitter a little bit, and you know, I didn't really know that there was like a ComicsGate going on. I knew that, like, I had watched some diversity in comics videos, but I just thought he was, you know, somebody that was just annoyed with the state of comics. I didn't know that there was a little bit more to it than that. But now it makes sense, because like the Stan Lee thing, it was so obviously an agenda. Like, at that point, it was like, okay, this is a 95-year-old man. If what they're saying is true, it would be literally illegal for the nurses. Like, they would lose their license if they talked about it, because you can't say that. Like, you can't talk about your 95-year-old patient making sexual propositions at you. That's like one thing you're just not allowed to talk about. So the only reason that this could possibly be happening is because of a political agenda.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about what happened with Stan Lee was the Me Too thing kind of went a little too far finally, and almost nobody was buying this Stan Lee story. Nearly no one was doing it.
Yeah,
but Rich fucking Johnson bought it.
Well, Bleeding Cool, I did a video on them. Their website's dead. If you go look up, you can look up the metrics on any website. So I went to one of the sites where you can look it up, like Quantcast, and they have, see what I find on them off memory. They have like 1 million hits, right, total lifetime, which you think that's successful, right? You would think. But when you look at it, they have like, it's 1 million's a lot to me. I don't know.
Well, for a website, for its lifespan, like Bleeding Cool's been around for a while. That's not a lot at all.
Here's the thing, though. The time someone spends on the site is literally 1 minute and 30 seconds. And they have a 65% bounce rate, which is exactly what it sounds like. Someone goes on there and leaves immediately. So no one's on that shit. They're on there because they have clickbait titles, and you go on there, it's all ads and stuff,
or paid traffic, like purchase traffic.
Yeah, that's true too.
Really big thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have purchase traffic because I think I've heard you mention it, and I can't remember which other YouTuber. One of you guys from the comics world. I want to say maybe Frugal or Underground Geek. But one of you guys mentioned it all the time, and I agree. When you go there, you are bombarded with ads all the time. I mean, it's to the point where I'm running a high-end PC, and it slows me down.
Yeah, the whole thing is ads. It'll even if you go on with your phone, like even with your pop blocker on, if you don't put it on there so that you are offline, you'll get kicked off the web page and taken to one of those scams where it's like, you won an Amazon gift card.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
really
so that's really interesting to me because I know that a lot of this stuff. Okay, so are you aware that in 2012 Obama legalized the usage of propaganda on the American people?
Yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah. So that's a really relevant piece of information to keep in mind regarding all of this type of stuff. Now, I don't know this. Where are the main publishing offices for the comic places? Like, where's Marvel located?
Marvel's in New York, but they're owned by Disney now. And then I don't remember where DC is. Burbank? Let me look them up.
I don't know either, actually. I
think they're New Jersey.
Yeah, they're close by Marvel, I thought. And Marvel's always been in New York City because that's why all their characters were always based out of there.
Yeah, because the thing is, I am trying to figure out like this, and this is just
Burbank, California.
Okay, so yeah, the fact that it's in New York and California is not surprising because those are democratic states. You know, if it wouldn't be at all hard for the rich Democrat bigwigs that on a local level to be giving money to publishing companies to push propaganda. But at the same time, it's almost surprising that there's a bunch of ads on the sites because then it has the appearance that they're trying to generate some sort of funding in some way. One of the things that really tipped me off to all of this weird political shadiness, which, you know, it is pushing propaganda, was when I kind of figured out that the site Everyday Feminism had to have been politically funded. And the reason that I knew about that was because of the fact that I knew people who wrote for them. They were actively sabotaging Bernie Sanders during the primaries. And they were pretending that they didn't have a bias, like they were pretending that they didn't endorse any candidate, but of course they were feminist, and I wonder if they want the man or the woman. Gee, I don't know. And they were actively sabotaging Bernie Sanders. Like they were publishing multiple negative stories relating to him, and even just fabricating untrue things about him in this one comic strip that they made, where they depicted a Sanders rally as a bunch of screaming racists, which never happened, obviously. Like, Sanders supporters weren't actually racist. And so I started looking at that, and I was like, it's weird that this feminist blog is acting in such a way. And then it was pretty clear that they didn't have any ads running on them. And it was like, wait, maybe they're getting paid directly from the top. So I came up with this little prediction that, when the election is over, if Hillary Clinton doesn't win, this site is going to lose their funding. And then sure enough, apparently I was right, because they started begging for cash soon after from their audience. But it gets a little bit more complicated when sites have a clear political bias, but then they actually are running ads.
Well, the thing with Bleeding Cool is they want to be in the actual comics industry. Okay. So they kind of just push the narrative when it comes to whatever the current trends are. I don't think they're not very smart people. So, I mean, I think that they probably are running it all on ads so that they can push their narrative. But somebody told me some stuff about their parent company, Avatar Press, that I think is worth looking into. Maybe they help fund it. I think somebody told me something. I can't remember about them, but I guess they're pretty big progressives.
Maybe they don't realize. I think that there's a lot of SJWs out there who don't understand that the gravy train has long left the station.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I've gotten even more interested in what's been going on with the comic stuff, is because like I was saying lately, things ramped up. They got louder and louder. I mean, like, things really ramped up when CB Cebulski came in to take place of Axel Alonso, because almost immediately after he took in, they were already quick to dig into his background and find something to call him a racist or a sexist about. So they found that he went by a Japanese pseudonym because he was writing, I think was it manga or something like that with Marvel. So he was writing under that pseudonym, and they tried to smear the shit out of him over that. And then it's just been getting worse from there, especially after things have been just the way they've been. Like, I'm looking at from DNC, and I'm looking at this pattern that I'm watching, because I'm seeing the same pattern occurring here compared to what was happening in Gamergate. What's up?
Clarification. What does DNC stand for?
Oh, diversity in comics.
Oh, yeah, okay, because people keep putting that in. Okay, I know that guy. Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, though, like, I was watching what DNC was putting out, and a lot of the stuff, from what I can understand, is this is the same stuff that happened right before Gamergate. And I started seeing the articles too. I know there's some articles that have come out that basically have been demonizing the fans, demonizing the readers, saying basically the comics are over for you. They're not for these people. They're for these people instead. But anyway, it's all been kind of growing now to the state where their hands are being forced, so they're screaming really loud. And it's funny, whenever I was finding out more about the indie mafia, as Yellow Flash was talking about, as well as the rest of the list that you were discussing, because it's very reminiscent of something that happened called the Game Journals Pros from Gamergate. I don't know if you guys ever heard about that.
Yeah, it's because it was all about they wanted ethical journalists, right? Wasn't that what kicked it off?
Well, I think the Game Journals Pros were these, like, people that were trying to sort of say that they were more official game journalists, and that they were the reputable journalists or something. Am I right about that?
I can explain it to you. The Game Journal Pros list. Okay. When Gamergate kicked off, it raised a lot of eyebrows, because what kicked it off was the Gamers Are Dead articles. There was 12 articles released across 12 different publications, all within a matter of a matter of minutes. It was
Oh
almost
yeah, yeah, yeah,
minutes to a couple hours, right?
and yeah, and point of clarification about that. The reason that that successfully happened, almost certainly, had to do with Obama legalizing the usage of propaganda on the American people. And there's an actual company that specializes in mass media coordination. It's a company called Media Matters. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about, but this is a little different. You're right about the whole Obama thing. Don't get me wrong, you're right. But what happened though is when this happened, everybody started to the 4chan folks and a lot of folks that were discussing Gamergate, they started to dig into the backgrounds of these people that were writing these articles, and they started finding all these weird, strange connections between each other. And then it was suddenly leaked that there was this entire mailing list of all these journalists and some indie developers and other people involved. And they were all talking about how they were going to craft the next narrative, how they were going to release the next set of articles, how they were going to talk about the next game and how they were going to paint it racist or how they were going to paint it this, whose game needs to be elevated and talked about the most so that it'll get sales. And it all came out because of this list. And the funny thing is when this list was discovered, a lot of the different media outlets started firing these journalists because they were like, no, you're not supposed to be doing that. You can't just do this shit, you know? Some of them stuck around, obviously. You know, you got IGN, you got Polygon. But it was funny is in the early days of Gamergate, when this stuff was really ramping up and when Game Journals Pros came out, you had a lot of authors every day or journals every day just going, yep, time to leave my current publication. I just got fired for being part of this list. You know, it was all sorts
Is that why they all attacked Colin Moriarty?
Remind me who Colin Moriarty was.
He was with Greg Miller on Podcast Beyond.
Yeah. Oh,
and then they left for Kind of Funny, and even Greg Miller. I haven't watched Kind of Funny since all that went down, where they turned their backs on him almost. And
yeah, they threw him under the bus.
Yeah, he was taking care of Greg Miller when he had cancer and stuff, and like doing his work, and he just threw him under the bus. I'm like, you're a piece of shit. So I was real happy to see Colin's Patreon is now making more money than their Patreon that they split between 4 people.
Oh, yeah, and trust me, it gets crazier though. I mean, the Colin Moriarty thing happened, but that happened way later on after this. But the Game Journal Pros thing, that's pretty much what you guys have described with the indie mafia and these creators like Gail Simone and all of them. Mm-hmm. And it drives me crazy to see because, like I had explained, was Gamergate was a revolt against the media. ComicsGate is a literal revolt against not only the media, but the industry itself. So it gets crazier, actually.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I don't think that these things just sort of happen. There is a literal company called Media Matters, right? And Media Matters is it's basically a multinational corporate. It works with multinational corporations as well as government to craft media narratives that will go wide expanding network of things. Not just in the United States, because it's wider in scope than that. It goes all over Western Europe and basically the whole world, at least the whole English-speaking world, certainly, but probably more than that. And it's the reason why, you know, the New York Times, CNN, and The Guardian will all publish basically the same fucking fake story within the same day. And it's basically a gigantic think tank, but, you know, think tanks we generally think of in terms of something like the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. Like, how does it keep the Democratic Party, the Republican Party in power? Whereas Media Matters is working with, it's pro-EU, it's pro-Democratic Party, it's basically, as much as I hate to say it, it's pro-globalist. You know, it's pro. That is sort of what it is. There is this specific kind of thing that they're trying to run with, which is this sort of like anti-white people, anti-male, and which you can actually trace to a specific motive that they do specifically have, which does have to largely do with making their version of global finance and immigration easier. Like that, and that's a really, really long conversation of how that works exactly, you know. But Media Matters attempts to facilitate this and to I think there's about 50 people working for it. It's headed by somebody named David Brock. David Brock is some weird fucking guy who you can't actually, if you guys do Google image search for David Brock, he'll occasionally appear on news shows, you know, like he'll have a guest appearance on CNN or whatever. But what's weird about him, if you go through enough pictures, you can tell that apparently there's at least a few different people who play him, because it's not always the same dude.
I've noticed that. I'm looking at it now, actually.
Yeah,
That's
it's extraordinarily weird. And
what's his name again?
David
Brock. Here you go. I got a link for you right here, Flash, for the image search.
Yeah,
right there in the chat here.
So what I'm kind of thinking is this. George Soros is well known to be the biggest independent donor to Media Matters, but Media Matters is ultimately it's almost like the corporation of left-wing media, you know, like it's sort of like the mothership of all left-wing fucking media. Like we all kind of know that like every fucking blog in the blogosphere, you know, all the Slates and Salons and Vox and fucking every fucking feminist blog, they all say the same goddamn thing, you know, like we all know that. Well, there has to be a mothership that they all like take their orders from. Well, apparently Media Matters is that. There's about 50 people working for it, and it's hard to figure out exactly how they work. And also, it's hard to figure out exactly where their funding comes from. And I've heard through people, and this is unverified, that companies will actually pay into Media Matters, because if they pay Media Matters, then they'll get the inside scoop about which narrative to peddle. And once they all peddle the same narrative, then they're all on the same page, and it's like they're corroborating their story, and then it all seems like they're telling the truth, right? So you'd want to pay into that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And yeah, the way you know what they're doing, though, is, like I said, when you notice the amount of time that elapses before each upload. You see it so easily. It's so unreal, because like it's almost instant. Like the Black Panther thing. I'm sure you're probably about sick and tired of being told how awesome Black Panther is because it's got a black guy in it.
Yeah, I don't even want to see it because of that. I remember when I saw the trailer, I was like, "This looks cool," and now like I don't even want to go see it because it's like, you know, tell me I got to go sit at the back of the bus now if I want to go watch it.
All the fucking hype that's been out about it, I thought that it was already out. Like I was like, wait, it doesn't come out for another fucking... No, it comes out next weekend.
I thought it was already out.
Dude, I almost went and saw it. Like, I almost went to a matinee today because I was going to be talking with you guys, and I was like, well, maybe we'll talk about the Black Panther. And I was like, shit, it's not even out. That's how I know.
I'm going to see it when it comes out this week, because I've got two little ones. Like my 8-year-old daughter and my 10-year-old son have been like begging me to take them to see this since they saw the trailer for, I think, when we watched Justice League. And that's the only reason I'm going now, is because I'm just so sick and tired of being told I'm supposed to go and see and like this. So I'm like, fine, I'm just going to take the kids just because they want to go now. Fuck it. I don't care.
It's like you go to like Black Twitter. They're like, it's okay to cry in the aisles. And
oh, God, man.
and jump and dance.
I had this fool today. This bitch was tweeting out this picture. I guess somebody got these kids to professionally cosplay as characters from the movie, and they took all these pictures, whatever. And then she's like, I don't want to hear another thing about representation doesn't matter and all this. And I just simply responded and said, representation doesn't matter. It's the relatability of the characters that matters. I don't need a character to look and act like me to relate to them, you know? And this bitch retweeted me and was calling me all these shit, like saying I was a racist and white privilege and all this shit. And I'm like, bitch, what are you talking about? She's like, she's talking about how basically trying to paint this movie like first almost all black film, almost all black director, black writers, and all this shit. And I'm just like, bitch, did you just erase the entire career of Tyler Perry and the fucking Hughes brothers? Or how about fucking Spike Lee? Come on now. Talk about you. This is the first black fucking production. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know about production, but like the first black superhero movie was, I'd say if you restrict it to actual comic book characters, I think Spawn would be the first, and then Blade would be second.
Blade, Spawn and Blade are the most well known. I think there were previous ones. Well, of course, there was Steel.
Oh, Steel, like, yeah.
But nobody really
there was Shaft.
Yeah, Shaft was one. but
Shaft,
nobody remembers.
Was Shaft a comic book character?
No,
I don't know if he was ever comics. But...
I was just joking. No, it was actually a Donald Glover joke. Donald Glover, who I actually think is kind of a funny guy. He can be slightly SJWE, but he's still kind of funny to me. And he had a little bit where apparently some fan they're talking about casting a new Spider-Man, and one of his fans said, how about Donald Glover plays Spider-Man? He's nerdy. And Donald Glover tweeted out, Donald Glover for Spider-Man. And then it got like 5 billion retweets and it became a big thing. And
he's too old.
Yeah, well, maybe he looks young though. But wait, are you thinking of Danny Glover?
I'm thinking of the one that was on that show about community college, right?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I guess this was probably like 5 or 6 years ago when he made this joke.
Yeah, definitely too goddamn old. But go ahead.
I wanted him to be Miles Morales, and he's too old to be Miles Morales, and you can't do Miles Morales without doing Peter Parker first. So I remember
I don't know.
Explain that to some people and shut them up. Yeah, but I guess you could do it, but it's like, why?
Well, and I think they are though.
Peter Parker.
Well, they did. Sony is doing a Miles Morales, like a Spider-Verse or something, like animated series.
It's going to already pick up with Peter Parker dead.
Oh, okay. So they are having Peter Parker's involvement in some form then.
Yeah, he's at a grave in one of the scenes, and if you pause at the gravestone, it vaguely makes out Peter Parker.
Oh, okay. That makes sense then.
But the whole point of that character's origin was that Peter Parker was essentially shifted into his Uncle Ben. And that's why you can't really do that character without doing that movie. That's kind of the crutch. Even though they shifted him to the main universe, and it kind of ruins the character a little bit to me.
Well, okay, so there was a punchline to this joke that I was going to tell. So, the fans said that, you know, that Donald Glover should play Spider-Man, and then the whole internet got in a fury on Twitter, and everybody was fighting and, you know, saying all sorts of bullshit. And he was like, well, you know, and I just stayed out of it. Because like, oh, that's stupid. Except for there was this one guy. And he got really into it. He was like, oh, what? You're just gonna have fucking Peter Parker's gonna be black now? Peter Parker's gonna be black. Oh, really? Peter Parker's gonna be black. What next? Is Michael Cera going to play Shaft? And he was like, and that one I responded to.
Well, even Dan Slott, the guy who writes Spider-Man, was coming out.
All right, let me finish the punchline. He's like, and that one I responded to. I was like, yes, that would be awesome. Can we please have Cera play Shaft? I would go see that movie so many times I would go broke. So,
Yeah, I saw that one. I heard that actually. What were we saying there, Flash?
I said that even the writer of Spider-Man came out and was like, if you think one of the key elements of Peter Parker is that he's white, you're wrong. It's like, motherfucker, he's been white for 90 years. However long that book's been going out.
I mean, I guess in today's day and age, if they were to race swap Peter, it would probably work for the simple fact that he lives in Queens, New York. But that was never a deciding factor of his character. Just like that's why this gender and race swap shit we saw in Marvel was so bad, because it was literally the only defining feature of the character was, oh, it's a black character now. It's like, no.
Why don't they just make new characters, though? If they have no creative people, no talented creative people to make new characters. Miles Morales was a successful character that they did swap, but it was in the Ultimate Universe, so people accepted it. But, they did it like respectfully. They didn't just slap you in the face with it like they did with Riri Williams, which is ironically the same guy who made Miles Morales, made her, and she sucks. And then, was it this Chow? They call him Gogurt Hulk.
Cho.
Yeah. They call him Bro Hulk. He loves being the Hulk, which is so stupid because being the Hulk is supposed to be a curse. So it's like, I just don't. Oh, and X-23, the clone of Logan, everyone liked her, and then they kill Logan and put her in the role and like ruin the character. That character's tainted. And then as far as black characters, they take the ones they had established, which if you want to like push the diversity thing, why don't you just utilize the properties you already had? Like Storm is like not leading the X-Men. Like, sure, most people like at least have her in their top 10 X-Men. Like, and she led the team in the 80s. So I don't understand why they didn't just push her to the front. They had Bishop, a couple other characters like Black Panthers, kind of a B-level character, but they want to make him an A.
Well, like Storm, I mean, that's what kills me is Storm is such a wasted potential because she has such a rich history that even dates all the way back to her even having a love affair with Black Panther when she lived in Africa.
Yeah, they were married for a while.
I love the character Storm. She was one of my favorite characters growing up. It's odd. Most of my favorites were females. I never really cared for most of the male characters.
They did so much with Storm too, like in terms of like taking her powers away and like all that like weird crap that made her like such a just a very rich character. Like talk about somebody who had passed the Bechdel test or fucking whatever.
Well, one of the problems I see with most of today's current runs of comic book characters and the way things go is it has to do with Gail Simone's bullshit with the women in refrigerators shit.
Oh my God.
We see this thing now where, okay, let's take a character like I'm going to use Batgirl as an example. Even though I'm
love boasting that book.
Which one?
Batgirl.
Who's boasting it?
I roast it.
Oh,
every issue now.
It's
terrible.
I liked the early New 52 run of Batgirl, the one that Gail Simone was
Batgirl?
Not before hipster. This was before she went hipster.
It was Stephanie Brown.
Was it Stephanie Brown, not Gail Simone? Oh shit! I'm gonna have to make
Stephanie Brown was the character.
No, it was Barbara Gordon. It was Barbara Gordon.
Was?
Yeah, the early New 52 when they just started New 52. It was Barbara got a surgery or an experimental surgery that gave her the use of her legs back. So she was able to be Batgirl again. And it was Gail Simone writing it. But instead of erasing the Killing Joke, she rolled with it and made it into part of her character of her having like PTSD and her like freezing up when she faced bad guys with guns and shit. It was really well written. I really loved it until Cameron Stewart took over it and fucked the whole goddamn thing up.
And now she does selfies and fights climate control or climate change.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a panel, if I'm not trying to shill myself, but I did a video where I talked about there's a panel that Batgirl's talking to her roommate at the time, and the conversation has nothing to do with anything of the nature that comes out of the roommate's mind. She just interrupts everything Batgirl's talking about and goes, "I'm transgender, Barbara. I've been trying to tell you for a long time." It had nothing to do with the discussion at all.
Wait, was that when they were like on the roof?
No, they were just in like their living room and shit.
Okay.
But my point that I'm trying to get at is there's become this thing where you can't have a bad thing happen to a minority or a female character or it's sexist or racist.
No, they're all friends.
Yeah, and
even
it ruins
the female and hero women are friends.
Well, yeah, and it ruins it. It kills the character because, like, Silk.
Whoa, sorry. Wait, I clicked on something
it's cool.
Into.
But like Silk. Silk was a character I actually thought had a lot of potential. But I bought the first book of it, and it was her running around, hanging with her friends, taking selfies. I was like, what is this crap?
Well, that's all those young adult authors writing what they know, hanging out in shops and talking. That's it.
But like,
with
here's
some weird, I fucking love science, Facebook level of knowledge of science.
Exactly. And here's a character, though, that had heavy potential. This chick was locked up and basically Stockholmed for fucking almost her entire life by some dude that wanted to hunt down every variant of Peter Parker or of Spider-Man to kill them. And this character, instead of taking this character in this history that she had that had his traumatic experience and utilizing that and building the character through that, it's like, oh no, fuck all that. Well, that never happened now. She's perfectly sane. She doesn't have any fucking problems. It's like, I can't relate to this. I mean, I could relate to a chick suffering with PTSD. You know, I know friends I'm from the military, and I have plenty of friends that suffer from that. I have friends that have been shot and harmed and lost limbs because of shit that happened to them in the military. I can relate to a character that went through some fucked up shit like Barbara Gordon or Silk, but they just ruin it now. Every character has to be perfect. Every character has to have a happy background.
Only the women.
Oh yeah, only the women.
in the minorities. That's it. The white straight men, if there's even any left in Marvel, other than Peter Parker, I'm trying to think. Most of them have been downgraded. Peter Parker is just kind of a bitch now.
Yeah, he's just like
written him like a punk for about 6 years now.
Yeah, and he made him into like he's some type of Elon Musk type character that's kind of whiny.
The diversity in comics has a good. He says it's like a mix of Chandler Bing and somebody else, like from an old sitcom. When he's really supposed to be a badass that like just. The whole point is he used to like roast you while he was whooping your ass to distract you, and now he just like tells dumb jokes, and it's just stupid. It's not the Peter Parker I remember.
Yeah, I watched a lot of y'all's reviews because I've been wanting to get back into reading comics, but it's just so much trash to wade through now. I can't help it anymore. Like I couldn't believe what IDW allowed to happen to G.I. Joe. I just couldn't get
Citizen.
over it.
Oh,
yeah.
That guy says it's alt-right Nazis that he got fired when it's really his own jackass 9/11 comment that pissed everybody off. But even if he hadn't done that, he would have got kicked off that book eventually anyway because it's terrible. I think I'm the only one that did a review on Strike Force 2 because I actually found it. One copy.
Yeah, you were. I remember I was watching a stream. I think you were on last night, and you were talking about how difficult it was for people to find this book because it's just nobody wanted it.
Yeah, the one place I went to that had they only ordered one extra copy for the shelf.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, and the thing is like my wife is from New York originally, and she actually has friends that died in 9/11 when that happened. So I just took down my phone and showed her what he said without telling her who he was. And she was like, "Who the fuck is this piece of shit?" I said, "Well, when you know, it's the writer of G.I. Joe currently." She was like, "What the fuck? She couldn't believe that because G.I. Joe is, I mean, you want to get patriotic. This is what G.I. Joe was. And it always was about, you know, celebration of the war hero, the veteran, you know, the whole fight for America type thing. And to see what he did to it, it's just god awful. And then him making his jokes, it was no wonder why he got fired. But it was people voting with their fucking wallet too that got him fired.
Yeah, that's what it was. And he blames it on trolls that we pressured him. We did. I tweeted at IDW for sure because I thought it was so disrespectful for what he said. Like, dude, trash in 9/11. Like, get the fuck out of here. And then all those people, you know, are coming out. Don't fire him. Don't give in to the trolls. It's like, they don't understand because these people don't love the country at all. They hate America.
What is IDW?
Comic book publisher.
Yeah, it's a smaller one.
Okay.
But they're really hardcore SJW, and that's why their sales have dipped 90%.
Yeah, they're really in the shitter. They're on life support right now. Most of the industry is on life support, but they're completely on life support. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Flesh, but DC's the one that's killing it right now. Everybody else is
doing really good.
Huh. That's cool. I'm kind of a DC guy.
But the thing is, they need Marvel to be good too. It's kind of like a symbiotic thing, and you know, a lot of people aren't buying Marvel.
Wait, why do you say that they need Marvel to be good at? I don't know about that.
It's just a more healthy thing, you know. I mean, some people just would rather be reading Marvel.
Huh.
Well, it's the reason why you don't like. I'm going to use gaming for example. It's the reason why you don't want Nintendo and Sony to go out of business and only leave Microsoft in charge of making video games. You know, it would create a monopoly
Yeah.
And there would only be one strong contender actually putting out content. Yeah. And now it's either you like this content or fuck it, you know? So you want Marvel and DC to be the big two at all times, or someone to take Marvel's place as one of the big two.
Or they get lazy.
Yeah, they get lazy and they just write whatever the fuck they want and put it out there. That's why you're in this slump with like Marvel, you know? They got lazy. They were just like, fuck it. And, I mean, and that's why I heavily protested against this idea that Dan Slott was saying, which was he was trying to promote a pre-order culture within the comic book industry. And I was like, you don't want to do that. You want to kill your sales now. Yeah, but you're going to kill them even more with that because that just breeds laziness. It goes, okay, just put out whatever because people are going to buy it anyway because they're pre-ordering it. And it allows the company to go to the shareholders and say, hey, look, our numbers are up. And it's artificial inflaming of the numbers, you know?
Well, they already do that. Marvel already does that with overshipping.
Oh, yeah, they do that. But there's a difference, and yeah, there's still a big difference between shipped and sold.
Yeah.
But at least when they're shipping it, they can say, hey, we shipped 30 copies. So they have technically sold those 30 copies. Fluffing it is saying, with the pre-orders, it's saying, yeah, we got 30 pre-orders. So that means we got 30 people that promise they're going to come in and buy their books. And it's worse because if you look at the gaming industry with pre-order culture, what it did, not only did it make the devs lazy, I mean, this is why we see products like Street Fighter V. They're half-assingly done products because they're like, yeah, we can sell you half the game and give you the piecemeal the rest of it to you later, or we can just scratch everything and sell you nothing but DLC after selling you $60
for
half the game.
It's a shit game anyway.
Yeah, I know. I made a mistake of buying it just so I could play with my buddies because we were going to compete in it in tournaments. And I just, after a while, was just like, I can't fucking play this. I can't. It's so broken. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah, like it doesn't.
So much better.
Yeah, well, and even. Oh, okay. I'm trying to think about Street Fighter 4. Really. Okay, I can't get into talking about game mechanics. That's like tedious, but like. It kind of went downhill after probably like Marvel versus Capcom 2 in a lot of ways, and they sort of tried to bring it back, but like the games just weren't quite playing right. I I don't know. No, I could. No,
Well,
never mind. It's not gonna.
I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty detail, but the bottom line is in a rush to get this game released, they sold a $60 title that was half-assingly done, and then they piecemealed the rest of the characters to you.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
So, and that's something you would technically start seeing in the comic book industry. I mean, obviously they can't sell you a half-finished product, but the writer would be like, well, what's my incentive to really do a good job? The sales are already there.
Sounds like Destiny. I didn't play Street Fighter, but
Destiny was definitely a contender for that too.
yeah.
The original Destiny.
Well, the second one's, I stopped playing it.
Dude, I got the fucking second one because everybody was so excited about it, and they said that it was so good, or that it was gonna be so good, and then by the time I fucking got it, everybody was admitting that it actually wasn't that good, and I was like, oh, thanks, guys. And so I basically played the first mission, and then couldn't really get into it, and I haven't. And then I talked to my friends. I'm like, should I get into this? And they're like, no, not really. Get Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, Destiny, it really went downhill, especially after the release of the second one. And didn't they got in some shit recently about some monetization stuff that they were doing with it?
Yeah. So this guy, Yang Yang or something.
Yang Yang.
Yeah. He always goes on and on about Destiny. I've been watching his channel a little bit.
Them and EA, he loves to rag on fucking EA, man.
Yeah, I think it's funny. He's just stomping on Destiny. Predatory practices.
Well, and you know what though? I think it's crazy because EA and possibly Destiny 2, they're gonna cause that, like EA especially is causing like literal legal legislation to be thrown into the mix because of these practices they went through. Holy fuck.
Well, I think that's funny that they're doing it now, or I guess it's because it's too like complicated for a lot of people to understand. But like Destiny is always predatory in the way that it runs its gaming system. With it uses an interval ratio, which is like a slot machine, and it's designed to keep you like addicted as fuck. A lot of games are using stuff like that now. They literally have like team of like behaviorists to help like design games.
Oh yeah, it's a psychological thing, especially. I mean, the one that pretty much kicked off the trend was Overwatch, and I mean, I love Overwatch, but I haven't been playing it lately. And the thing with their loot box system was they only allow you to purchase the boxes. You can't purchase the currency in the game with real money, but you can purchase as many boxes as you want. So it is like a slot machine. But Overwatch is giving you cosmetic items. They're not giving you anything that's going to give you edge.
Yeah, I don't mind that because I don't give a shit about the aesthetic stuff. I mean, I can't even see it on the character anyway.
Yeah, especially a first-person shooter.
That stuff I don't care about. I know a lot of people do and they get mad about it. It's like, I never cared about having a.
It only really matters if you get the play of the game.
Yeah, and it only matters to me when it's a game where I can see my character. You know, if I like my character to look badass when I'm playing the game and I can see them, but it's first-person shooter. I don't need to even worry about it. You're seeing it through the eyes of the character anyway, so the only thing you're seeing is their gun and maybe their leg and their arms. But the thing about it though is cosmetic items was fine, and I was like, yeah, I can get behind this. You're only giving away cosmetic stuff. EA, however, pushed it further, and so did WB with Shadow of War, because they were giving you things that give you edge. Like, so if I was if I spent like $100, I could get a bunch of loot boxes that would give me possibly weapons that were better than everybody else's, and I could just rape face with that shit, you know? That was the biggest issue. And they also EA set the unlocking ability for these characters that were in the game, like Darth Maul and Darth Vader and all them. They set the time amount that you need to open all of them or to unlock them so high, it was damn near impossible to unlock everything at a reasonable amount of time, even. So it was
Yeah,
a way of forcing you to purchase the loot boxes.
Yeah, you were telling me about that with the fucking Battlefront game. I had the first one, but it was a pretty fucking weak game. Who do you play in Overwatch? Who are your characters?
I usually like to I play a lot of different characters. Support, I usually play Lucio, Mercy, and I love to dabble with Symmetra for fun. Pharah, Junkrat. I like to play Diva a lot, and I think that's pretty much it. But I'll play
Diva's
almost
the
any
one in the
character.
Android. She was in the mech.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like Diva.
she's my favorite to use. I liked what they did with the missiles, but I've been avoiding Overwatch lately because they've been doing some sketchy shit too with the competitive side. I've been staying. If I do, I stay away from that.
What do you mean?
Well, there's this thing they're calling one tricking, the one trick ponies,
Yeah.
and basically they're banning people people are mass reporting folks and getting them banned because they don't want to play a different character. They want to play the character they like to use. And so it's like, so they're coming in like, oh, well, we need you to play a healer. And the player's like, no, I play Pharah, so I'm not playing a healer. I only play Pharah. So they're banning them for stuff like that. And then, or you may have heard about it, but when Jeff Kaplan recently came out with their recent update to the game, they talked about, of course, the nerfs, the buffs. They talked about the changes they've made to the reporting system and the banning system and everything, right? But Jeff Kaplan comes out and says, we're now proactively watching people's YouTube and social medias to ban people for toxicity before they're even reported.
Wait, what?
Yeah. This is a true thing, man. I'm not even joking.
Wait, sorry.
I heard this.
Toxic game players, like basically the ones that scream at you.
Yeah,
I got hella toxic the other night on some motherfuckers.
Well,
why can't you just mute them?
Well, that's the thing.
I don't understand. That's why whenever I play, I usually sit in a party chat by myself on mute, because I didn't want to hear any of that shit. So I just don't talk to anybody.
It's hard to do on Overwatch though. Like you get so much better if you can communicate with your
the team play, yeah.
Well, true, but the thing I will say about Overwatch though is if you come in there and if you're a competitive player, if you're just coming into competitive and you've never played any quick play at all, then I think you're personally crazy. But you can't even go into quick play unless you are competitive until you're like 25 anyway. So by then, you should already even have an understanding of each of these characters, what their roles are and how they work, and some of the synergy that works between the characters. So you really don't need to communicate with other players because you kind of understand, all right, he's playing this character, I do this, and they're going to usually do this. You kind of already know how to work together. That's one of the key factors of it. But the thing I find amazing is when you see what happened with Jeff Kaplan saying this, the community's not really talking about it. They're just kind of like, whatever. And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense at all. They're actually supporting this sort of thing. And the weirdest part about it is some people are even saying, like, I think we should ban competitive players that want to mute everybody, that don't want to talk, that don't want to communicate, or don't want to do this or that. And you're just like, you paid $60 for this game. You can't just tell people how the fuck to play the game.
Huh.
I'm gonna send you a video, Prince, and it'll explain exactly what I was talking about. But yeah.
That's weird. Yeah, I mean, I've heard you talk about this stuff. I haven't really heard any of my Overwatch friends actually talk about this. I flip the fuck out on some. So I normally play with a team, that is used to playing with me, and we have our sort of strategies, and we almost all of us got up into platinum, and so we're like, above average players. We're not like fucking psycho ass players or anything, but we're pretty decent. I'm fucking 36 goddamn years old. You know, like it's the fact that I'm able to even fucking get above average. I'm proud of that. So normally I do that, and normally I'm playing with people that are used to my play style, and we can compose a team pretty well, a balanced team. But my friends weren't online, so I was solo queuing, which I fucking hate. It's awful to solo queue sometimes. Like I think that if you're playing if you play one of the meta characters that almost every team always has on it, then it's more fine to solo queue. You know, like if you play Mercy or Junkrat or Diva, or, you know, where it's almost always fine to have those characters. Then it's fine. But if you're a Sombra main like I am, it's not so fine because the vast majority of teammates don't know how to play with a Sombra on their team. Like they don't understand that you should use the hacked health packs because it charges her ult. They don't understand, you know, like when I say I hacked one of the tanks, fucking shoot the shit out of the tank, you know, because it won't be hacked in like 6 seconds, but if you can kill it, it will die. You know, like you know, just little things like that. It's like, you know, there's a reason I talk so much when I'm playing Sombra. It's because you have to fucking be listening to me, and if you do, we'll win. But I wasn't even fucking playing Sombra. I was playing Symmetra, and Symmetra is a pretty meta character. You know, like she, you know, you set your sentry turret traps and you protect your team because if people come too close, you can fucking suck the life out of them with those fucking lasers. And so I was actually doing pretty good, to be perfectly fucking honest, but we only had one healer for some fucking reason. I was solo queuing. I wasn't going to tell everybody what to do, and everybody else was solo queuing. We only had one healer. Not my fucking fault. I can't do anything about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna take on the team leader role and try to tell everybody that they need to have another healer or switch over to Mercy and ahead of Moira or what fucking whatever it was. And I get my teleporter because I'm not a shit Symmetra, you know, like I was able to get my teleporter and I put it down. Right when I put it down, everybody fucking dies. Like right at once, you know? And it was just like, fuck. And one of the motherfuckers on the team tried to give me shit. Like, okay, you know, and it was on the Lunar Point map, the Winston's map.
I haven't played that one yet. I haven't played since like yesterday was the first time I turned it on in months, and I just played with Moria for like a few minutes on training.
Oh, she's a really weird character with those fucking orbs.
I kind of like her. I'm gonna have to try her out some more.
She's a little OP. They're probably gonna nerf her eventually.
She
What
seems
game is
pretty
this?
cool. Overwatch.
Oh, this is Overwatch? See, I
Yeah.
haven't played it in a while. I
Yeah.
never even made it into ranked because it's such a team-based game, and I don't know. I only have like on my PlayStation Network like 20 PSN friends because I just don't like
Oh,
adding random people.
we can be friends if you want.
I'll send you guys my PSN name and
Yeah, I'll put mine in the inside chat.
That's cool. I mean, I don't play Overwatch on there. I play that on the PC, but I play a lot of different games on PS4, especially stuff like Bloodborne and
yeah, I'm on Steam too now. I don't know how to send friend requests and stuff on there yet though.
Oh, just send me your name. I'll hook you up on my Steam account.
Okay.
Wait, so I gotta finish this story because it's actually kind of funny. I realize that sometimes my stories sound like they're going nowhere, but so what happened was oh, and I'm kind of might be drinking tonight, which I wasn't anticipating doing. So what happened was I put down my teleporter. Everybody dies at once, so they were able to like easily kill me and my teleporter. They weren't even able to get teleported by my teleporter to help, you know, fight. And then one of the motherfuckers on my team started giving me shit. Like, why'd you put down a teleporter? I mean, we needed more healing. You should have put down a shield generator. And it was like, oh my god. because everyone does. Like, Jesus. Like, I honestly, I didn't even say anything. I think I just said because most people do. You know, like, but like, it was hard to even justify myself in that notion because it was like, well, I didn't realize that my team fucking sucked and you were all gonna die immediately, so I wasn't really thinking about it. Sorry, you know, but like I didn't want to say that. So then we play the rest of the second round, and it was true by the end of the second point that you know that the team was trying to capture of ours, we were defending. It became clear that my teammates just sucked. Like they just like I don't know if it was all of them, but enough of them. Like we're just not very good because everybody was dying. And honestly, I probably could have traded out for a healer or something at a certain point. But you know, there's those games where like you're not playing with your friends, you're playing with a bunch of randos, and you just kind of want it to be over and you stop thinking about it that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
Yeah. So that's what it was. And I just like wasn't really trying that hard, but like no either nobody else was or like you know, and then at the last 5 seconds when it was clear that we were about to lose, definitely, one of the fucking guys again says, I don't know why we still have a Symmetra on our team. I mean, she keeps dying. And it was like, oh my fucking God. Like, you guys haven't been dying? Like, you guys haven't been dying, you know? And so I said, I was like, well, yeah, I guess I'll admit, I've been a little bit demoralized because my teammates are trash. And then they were like, what? We're trash. We're trash. And then they all like collectively like spurged out on me and shit. And
there's two yellow flashes in the world of Steam. One's in Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, that one's not me.
So these guys all spurged out on me like at once, and like all of this fucking sudden, like after they had given me shit twice, you know, and like I, you know, not really say anything about it, and then they all like it was like they wanted a scapegoat, you know, and then I just fucking lost it. I lost it. I've never lost it in a video game so hard, and it was kind of like all of the pent up annoyance that from my entire career of playing Overwatch, all of the pent-up annoyance that I've had with every toxic teammate ever, I took out on all of these teammates at once and just fucking tore them a new one. And to the point where I like to think one of them left the game crying. And I totally ended up saving it, like saving the footage after it was over, and I'm gonna maybe edit it to upload to my channel just so people get to see like me be totally toxic on a bunch of people. Like I was just being a fucking dick. Like I was
careful now. That's the stuff that's going to get you banned if you put it on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, apparently, right?
Well,
it seems like they're iffy on that because there's another guy in ComicsGate. His name's Underground Geek, but he doesn't talk about the drama as much. And he talked about the Grid Girls that got banned in F1.
Oh, yeah.
And he got his video got him a strike, which I watched that video and I thought it was kind of tame. I think the only thing that I can think of that they got him for was when he was he he Googled some picture of feminists and it was like a fat woman in a black shirt, you know, and she was like pointing at it, looking all stupid. He's like, what would you rather look at, this or this? And to the Grid Girl, and I think that's what got him strike. But I'm like, I have said some nasty shit about people in some of my videos. Like, is it that easy to get a strike?
Well, it's very random, is what it is.
What it is a lot of people, they false flag them, and that's where the strike comes from. For me, I had back in the early days of my Twitter or of my YouTube channel, back when it was the Trigglypuff thing. I don't know if you remember Trigglypuff or you heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
I made a video for Trigglypuff to the song Narwhal or whatever, you know, and somebody reported it for bullying or some shit like that. And I had a strike for 4 months that I was just not able to stream at all. That's why I have my other channel, Nurgle's Dungeon, which is now just for Dungeons and Dragons. But I had that for all my Thursday night live streams that I did.
Yeah, he can't revoke his. He couldn't appeal it.
Yeah, some of them you can't, some of them you can. Like me, no, I couldn't appeal mine either. And what I did was I got in contact with a friend of mine that actually had some people that they knew in YouTube, and she managed to help me get it fixed. And that's why it took 4 months instead of 6.
Now, why is it that happens to some people, but then iDubbbz's whole channel's built, like there's channels literally built on roasting people. Like Lethe had his channel that got big, and iDubbbz is, I mean, his whole channel's built on that shit.
Well,
why is that okay? And like what we do isn't.
Well, it's also got to do with the popularity factor.
Yeah, if they take out somebody that
brings, think about how much traffic Lethe
well, no,
is
it's
bringing,
not even just that. It's actually a little bit. They don't actually really care all that much about traffic because YouTube is never really.
It's never really profitable.
Anyway. Yeah, it's never been profitable, and it's actually never going to be profitable ultimately, probably. What it really is that if somebody has a big enough audience, their audience would get mad enough that it would be a big enough stink, so they can't piss off the audience. But okay, one of the things that people don't realize about Google, and I don't know why people don't talk about this more. I feel like it should be known by now, but I guess nobody ever actually reads books, and I mostly don't really read books, but I did get this book called The Inevitable, and it's written by the guy who was the tech editor of Wired for most of Wired. Like, he's Mr. Wired basically, and it's about like 13 different technologies that will change our future, and one of them is AI. And one of the first things he says about AI is he talks about meeting with the CEO of Google back in like 2001 or 2002, really, really early on, when Google wasn't a monopoly. And he said, how is your company going to make money long term? And that's what the guy asked the guy of Google. And he's like, you're offering this search engine to people for free. How are you going to make money long term? And even back in like 2002, the guy said, oh, easy. We're not actually just giving them free stuff. We're data mining people and we're going to use the data that they give us for free to build AIs with. And that was always the long-term strategy of money making for Google. So every single YouTube search, every single time you click on an ad, every single Google search, every single thing that you click on Google, they're actually just data mining us for AIs. And it's always been their intention. So they ultimately don't really have any real motive to make YouTube profitable.
Well, that makes sense. But, one of the other reasons, too, is, I mean, hold on a second. Let me get my thoughts here. But one of the other reasons they do that shit and they don't care is because of just how big the YouTuber is. I mean, they'll easily take on a small shrimp like us. And they'll instantly jump on the ball. Like Philip DeFranco, when he gets hit by strikes and he gets videos taken down, they're instantly reinstated. When someone like me or Flash do something, it could take months. It could take almost a fucking year. I mean, it's almost the death of our channels when they do that shit.
I'm just getting my shit back. They did not accept my appeal.
What was your flagging for?
The dumbest shit ever. The first one was because I said the word retarded.
I say that all the fucking time.
yeah, everybody does. Okay, to be fucking perfectly honest, the reason that YouTube has had it out for me is the same goddamn reason that Facebook has had it out for me. And I have long been a thorn in the side of the political internet establishment, and I'm talking like over 10 years ago with some shit that's like way too long to get into, but like there's some creepy ass motherfuckers in Silicon Valley who have had my name on some sort of creepy ass blacklist fucking thing, apparently. Because they were fucking with me during the election on Facebook, and I got banned. I got like a 30-day ban for calling a feminist a bully. Like that was the worst insult in the post that got me a 30-day ban. I also got one for using the word crap and hell. This was apparently some sort of hate speech or whatever on Facebook for a period. And so they started fucking with my YouTube channel. They got me for using the word retarded. They also gave me a strike against when I was live streaming because there was a girl with nipple tape on in the background.
Oh, I remember that.
That one actually got overturned, but yeah, I used the word retarded, and then the second strike that I got, honestly, I cannot for the life of me, I just don't even know what it was. Like the video was called "I'm a feminist, bro."
And maybe that's the thing.
What?
Take feminist, don't use feminist in the title.
Oh no, I do all the time, and you know, I mean, people are allowed to put feminists in the title because they want people to make feminism videos. You know, like I mean, so, but it was called "I'm a Feminist, Bro." Blair White was attacked IRL, and the point of the video was it was inspired by the fact that Blair White got attacked in real life. But I went through. Actually, Nurgle, you helped inspire this, not inspire, but provide research material for this video. I asked you for the link to the Gamergate male feminists that all got busted.
Oh yeah, the 16. It was like 16 or so people. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the video is up on BitChute if you want to watch it. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I think it's one of my stronger videos, and the only good reason I can come up with that they would have flagged it was just because it was a particularly strong argument. I did not use a single slur. I don't even think I used the word fuck. You know, like there was nothing in that video at all that could possibly be, you know, like I talked about specific instances of male feminists doing bad crap. I talked about Matt Hickey. I talked about shit like that.
Should be a link to that sometime for the BitChute one, man. I'd like to see that because that was I remember giving you that. You were like, "Whoa," when I told you about it.
yeah. I mean, I knew it was like the case, but I didn't know that there was a good compilation of all of the things, you know. And so, yeah, I put that up there, and then they struck that as hate speech, and there was no good reason. Like I watched it, you know, as soon as I got the strike there, I watched it 3 times in a row trying to come up with a possible reason that I could even come up with, and I just couldn't come up with one. And I tried to tell people about it, and people were like, well, YouTube's shitty now, and I'm like, but this is beyond shitty. But okay, Vimeo VidMe was just closing down, and I didn't have a BitChute at the time. And I tried to upload it to my secondary channel, and somehow they blocked it on my secondary channel and made it so I couldn't upload it onto my secondary channel. Like it said that it was a copyright violation, which would only apply to my video. So like YouTube like really didn't want people to see this. It was like weird, creepy shit, you know, honestly. So yeah.
I'm gonna have to watch this because it makes it a little too hot to see now.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the side chat.
Cool. Like it's weird. Like I just uploaded a video tonight that's gonna come out tomorrow morning, and it's about representation and relatability of characters. You know, we were talking about this earlier. I just uploaded, not even a minute after uploading it, almost instantly, it's already not suitable for advertisers.
Well, it does that with the algorithm voice to text.
Like I'm still trying to figure out like what did I put in the tags that popped this? The only thing I can think of is representation, and I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. That's a simple word.
Yeah. Okay, so Prince. Yeah, the greater point of the video that made it, you know, particularly interesting was it was about the the thing that I was saying, beyond the fact that male feminists are creepy, which, you know, everybody knows male feminists are creepy by now, but what I was saying was that this is particularly troublesome.
Hey guys, I gotta jump out.
Oh, okay. So
it's cool.
it was good to get to talk to you a little bit, and I do want to set up an actual stream where we like start trying to go through the specifics of like timeline of ComicGate and how it started. And I will be drinking beer on that one, and I'll be a little bit more formal and everything. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll drink too.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I won't be. I'm drinking now, but I won't be the next time. Because I wanted this one to be on my main channel, but it's just not enabled yet. So I will hit you up and we'll try to set up for like later this week. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, Flash, you're welcome to come on my streams anytime. I stream on every Thursdays, and I'm working on putting something together for where we cover more extensively on ComicsGate, separate from that stream sometime. Still working on figuring out a time frame for that, but you're welcome to come by my streams anytime too, man. It was cool hanging out with you. I love watching your channel, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun. I'll be back. I'll be more talkative. It's just getting late.
Oh, no, I understand. We all got work tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I'm going to be like 6.
Yeah, same here, man.
All right. Yeah, good to have you. Bye, man.
All right.
All right,
See you guys.
have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
So
that leaves us but us.
yeah, so let me put this
You're welcome to like bring other folks in, man. It don't have to just be us chilling. It's cool. I mean, I'm gonna be around for another I can be around for another 30 minutes before I head out of here because I gotta get to work in the morning too. But
okay. So I put the thing in the side chat. Yeah, is there anyone in the side chat that's watching or something, or in the chat?
Do we got any crazy people that want to join Nurgle and Prince of Queens tonight? They haven't been using the chat much. I mean, it's been quiet.
There's people watching though.
Yeah, that's the good thing. We got folks watching. So anyway, man, I was gonna say that like one of the things, and now that it's sad that it sucks at Flash left, because I was gonna say like one of the things to watch out for looking at the whole ComicsGate thing is start digging into the backgrounds of these people that are like these male feminist guys that are these virtue signalers in the comics gate stuff, because you and I both know now. I mean, Gamergate, like years after, what happened was like all these fucking male feminists came up being like some like literal ghouls. I mean,
yeah, like as if they might have been being blackmailed the whole fucking time to begin with.
Well, like the things that came out of it. I mean, there was the Matt Hickey thing. You know, he got convicted and now he's serving. I think he only got.
Do you know that I actually knew that guy?
Really?
Yeah, like literally in person.
My God, that's freakish. I mean, did he ever come off to you as somebody that would actually do that?
Yes, he was a creep. Yeah, and the funny thing was, okay, so I knew him from Seattle, and Seattle is a really fucked up place. Socially.
Oh, I've heard. My wife tried to make me move out there. She's like, "Get a job out there." I was like, "No."
Yeah, like if you can raise a family and don't have any sort of a nightlife, social life at all, like then maybe it's kind of fine. But like there's this weird, lots and lots of fucking SJWs and weird, wacky yoga people, and then just weird, shitty, passive-aggressive haters, like people who are just like really unhappy people. And so I was living in Seattle from 2005 through 2007. And I don't remember exactly when I met him, to be perfectly honest. I just don't. But I met him through some people, and it was like he wanted to be my friend. No. I wasn't actually even living there anymore when I met him. I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I had moved in with this girl that I had met from Seattle, and she was my friend. I'm actually still friends with her, and she thought that I would have known him, and she acted like I probably knew him, but I didn't. And she said, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm gonna have a house guest. It's this guy Matt Hickey. Are you cool with that? You probably know him." And I'm like, no, I don't, but that's fine. I don't give a shit, you know. And so he came and he stayed with us, and we ended up hanging out. And he's very charming. Like, I mean, he's like a fucking sociopath. Sociopaths tend to be charming, you know. So he was really into playing Scrabble, and he was really into telling stories, and so am I. I like Scrabble and telling stories, but I remember a specific story that he told, which made me think that there was something really, really weird about him, which was that he had this whole, okay, so he's not an attractive man. He's quite overweight and not particularly good looking. I don't know if maybe he would be good looking if he wasn't overweight, but like he's overweight enough that you can't imagine if he wasn't overweight.
Oh yeah, because you could fucking tell just by looking at the dude that he had to do this scam just to get women, man.
Yeah, he's not hot. Like there's no, I mean, you don't have to be attracted to dudes to be able to tell that this man is not attractive to women, you know.
Let me address your chat. Paris, I'm just gonna call you Paris. We're talking about Matt Hickey, this former like game journalist, very heavy male feminist, anti-Gamergate kind of guy. He was convicted of rape of multiple women because he was literally running a backroom casting couch in his house. Except the reality is, there really was no job.
Yeah, it was all a scam.
Like it was a real live backroom casting couch.
No, like what it was. Okay, so here I'll explain the story in chronological detail. So he was staying with us, and then he told us this story about how there was this woman, and he showed us pictures of her too. She was attractive. He was like, yeah, here's this girl, and I had a really big crush on her, and then she fell in love with me, and she got really drunk, and she showed up to my house really drunk at 2:30 a.m. and she was yelling, "Why don't you love me?" And I let her in, and then she puked everywhere, and it was really, really awful. And so I wrote this thing. Okay, so in Seattle they have the kind of the like alternative hipster newspaper. It's called the Seattle Stranger, and it hasn't really been cool since the late 90s, but you know, people still sort of act like it is. And one of the columns that's in the Stranger is called I Anonymous, and it's basically anybody can send submissions and they'll publish it if they think it's worth publishing, but you don't say who you are. So it's kind of like an anonymous letter to the editor thing, right?
Yeah.
So he wrote about this alleged incident with this woman, which now I don't believe a single goddamn word of it. But you know, it was a story where he was like, "Yeah, you were really, really attractive. I had a big crush on you, and you're the sexiest body of any woman that I've ever had sex with. But then you freaked out and you puked on me. You puked on my couch. You puked on my dog, and now I don't want anything to do with you. Ha ha." And they published it. And so we thought that was kind of a funny story, but I remember always thinking to myself that it sounded a little bit suspicious. Like it was like, I don't know if that is true, you know? Like I'm like, I believe you that you wrote this and that they published it, but I'm not sure if what you wrote was true. And that's really all I remember really about him. And he was my Facebook friend. And then the allegations start coming out. And that happened, you know, maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And that was when things started to be weird. And so I contacted my female friends that I knew him through, and each of them did not hesitate to throw him under the bus. They were like, "Oh no, that guy's a creep." And like they were like, "No, I have no defense of him. Don't worry." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's not really that surprising to me either, because I mean, I didn't really know him that well. he just stayed with us that one weekend, and I hung out with him like one time because I ran into him. But yeah, like one of the girls said that she had to spend the night with him. Like maybe she had to sleep in his bed for some reason, and she ended up having sex with him. And it wasn't rape; she was consenting, but she was drunk, and he pressured her, and it was like a low moment for her. And then the other girl was like making out with some girl at a party, and he like busted in the room and took a picture and then ran out.
Just God. So he not only looks like a creepo and is a creepo. I mean, he literally was a creepo. Like there was warning signs behind this guy. Holy shit.
No, not a single. Okay, it was one of these things where, like, as soon as so he knew a whole bunch of people. Like, he was somehow connected to all these people, and everybody kind of like thought that he was friends with other people. And when all the like allegations came out, people were like, Prince, you're actually friends with him, though, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I thought you were. And they're like, no, not really. I just thought that like nobody was like actually friends with him. Like nobody was willing to like go like at all go to bat for him. And
well, I mean, being accused of rape of so many women is definitely on that list. I mean, holy shit! Like, I mean, he had so many allegations. I'm surprised he only got 2 years.
Yeah. The closest thing, there's one guy that I'm actually friends with who wanted to defend him but never did, and he had gotten this guy a job, and so this guy like didn't defend him exactly, but like was he wanted to wait for more concrete evidence against him, and then finally admitted, okay, it's probably true. And even that guy said, honestly, I never felt like he was not capable of doing what he was accused of. Like nobody, like that's when like there's not when not a single person is surprised, like nobody was surprised by this. But okay, so the allegations, what this guy is actually accused of doing, that everybody we're pretty positive he actually did, and maybe more. So, okay, he might have gone to jail for 2 years for some sort of like weird date rape crap that was like actually, classified as date rape. But the main allegations that made his story well publicized are actually, it's a very weird legal predicament, because in a lot of ways, it's not entirely illegal depending upon where you are and how it works. What he did was he came up with a little plan about how to get laid, because he's like an unattractive fat dude. And his little plan was that, and this is like an episode of Black Mirror. It's what this is like, because
you know what this is actually reminding me of? This reminds me of like those old like high school based films where where you got the nerdy kid who's all got the whole plan together on how to get laid.
Oh, like some like Porky's shit.
Yeah. Like
yeah.
What was that one movie that
can't hardly wait?
Like what's his name? Seth Green was in that, and he played that character that was like ended up getting locked in the bathroom with some chick. And
Seth Green was in it. And okay, so Seth Green's character, I think it was Ethan Embry, was like trying to get like, and Ethan Embry was actually pretty cute, and then Seth Green got locked in the bathroom with his like middle school best friend, and yeah. No, it was something like that. So like but okay, so it's like Black Mirror in the way that it's based around social media. Like this wouldn't have worked without the existence of social media. Matt Hickey realized that he was never going to have sex with any hot women ever, and he's apparently a sociopath. So he concocted a plan where he pretended to be, and this is where it gets super interesting, and people don't really know, and I should write a script about this. I've one of the friends that was a girl who thinks that he's a super creep told me that she thinks that I should write a script about this, and I think I should. So, um, he was friends with some of the big feminists in Seattle, because Seattle is one of the like big feminist meccas. And he was personal friends with Lindy West. Do you know who that is?
Oh god, that name sounds so goddamn familiar. I'm looking it up right now because I know that name.
She's the most famous body positive feminist.
Oh, okay, I've seen this chick before. Yeah.
She debated Jim Norton about comedy. And basically her shtick is, I'm oppressed because I'm a fat white woman.
Yeah, I know this chick. I've seen her before.
Yeah, she's wretched. So I actually knew her since middle school, or sorry, since elementary school. And we were friends in our 20s. And actually up through our early 30s, but eventually she got too annoying on Facebook and I got in too many fights with her and she unfriended me. Um, like I just couldn't handle it. Like she had this big platform, like writing for Jezebel and The Guardian and shit, and she was like this like horrible SJW and a major hypocrite, because like I knew her, you know, and it was just like, oh, shut the fuck up, white girl, you know, like you. And so I got shit. I got sick of her shit, and she was friends with him, and he was friends with a number of feminists. And what I think happened was that, and this is just speculation. This is like, if I were to write the story about it, it would be based on a true story. So
Yeah.
he learned through talking to feminists how best to manipulate women, because they talked about, you know, sexual empowerment and like don't slut shame and women should own their bodies and blah 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 blah. And he was like, oh, I can work with this, I can work with this. And so he took what he learned from that whole, from feminism, and he ended up concocting an alternate persona on Facebook, who was a woman, an alleged woman. I don't know where he got her pictures, but an alleged woman who owned a porn company, supposedly a porn company that didn't actually exist. And this porn company was looking to cast women to be in the porn company to have sex. And it was supposed to be this like female headed and female empowerment type of thing. And so he started looking around Facebook, writing hot chicks, being like, "Hey," and he was writing them, but you know, through a sock puppet of some woman. And so this woman was writing hot chicks, being like, "Hey, you're good looking. Have you ever considered getting into porn?" And some of them said yes, which means he must have written a lot of women. Because like,
this dude, I mean, this Jesus, you're revealing the mind of some of these male feminists that we've always been talking about. It makes so much sense, because you got Matt Hickey here, and then you have all these other ones, though.
yeah,
You know, like Devin Ferrasi. You know, like he came out and it was like suddenly out of the blue, this chick comes out and goes, "Hey, Devin, you remember when you grabbed me by the pussy and told everyone to smell your fingers?" I was like, and I remember that happened, and that blew up, and to the point where he had to quit his job on his own, because it had to be true the way everything unfolded. And so many people just knew. Like, people were like, yeah, y'all didn't know this fuck was a fucking creepo this whole time? He's been like this forever.
yeah, it was, you know, and that's one of the things is like, I like to think that gay guys don't let like creepy straight guys around our female friends that much. Like we can kind of like we for the most part, we kind of have an instinct about when another male is a creep, and it's not like we're like white knighting for our female friends or anything. It's more just like, ew, I don't like that guy, can you not have him over? You know, like, and then they don't come around. But of course, gay men and fucking fat, obnoxious feminists don't actually get along all that well. And so you take the gay men out of the equation, and then the fucking women are wide open up to fucking, you know, rapey ass creeps because the gay men don't get to vet those guys, you know, properly. And so yeah, this guy came around. He was writing women on Facebook, and he was saying, hey, do you want to get into the porn company, blah, 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 blah. And he would set up meetings with them somehow. And then instead of the woman showing up for the audition, which I don't know where they would meet up exactly. I think they were supposed to go over to the women's apartments, or maybe a hotel. I don't know. He would show up instead, and he would be like, sorry, she couldn't make it. I'm a cameraman, and I'm supposed to get footage of you. And somehow he found women that were at like low points in their life, and he would bring booze over and get them drunk and pressure them into having sex with him. And I think he would even tape it. I'm not entirely certain.
Well,
and
I would imagine he'd have to, because he's telling them that, you know, you're doing this for porn or whatever. And but that's the MO. That's the thing, though. And
yeah, for him, it really sounds like it was a full-blown power fucking thing, like they fucking talk about.
Well, it like, not only that, if you look into it, I mean, you know, some of those people, these women that submit for some of these porn sites that are all mostly amateur or whatever, you know, of course they get brought in. They're forced to sign a waiver saying, hey, this is a consent form for us to put this video of you out there in the open, whatever. And that's something you women need to understand. If you're out there and you want to do adult acting and you want to do these things, you got to understand that there's supposed to be legal contractual paperwork you need to sign before you do any film. Don't do anything without signing shit. And I'm sure that sounds like a no-brainer, but there's a lot of women that are very, very down with that. And one of the things you see, though, is a lot of these women, they're doing it because they just need the quick cash and the money, and it's fast and easy to do. And so he's got the perfect preying scheme right there. I mean, really.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I imagine that he was doing it for a lot longer than until he got caught, because once he got caught, a number of other women came out of the woodwork and were like, yeah, this happened to me too. I think that probably what happened is that he eventually just over a period of time got careless, because what he was doing was largely not illegal, because it did actually require consent. Like, he wasn't forcing anyone, he wasn't drugging anyone, but there was something definitely immoral about it. And then when they decided to try to press charges, I think there was an issue about how do we press charges on this guy, because what he did wasn't actually, like, it was vaguely fraudulent, but it wasn't rape, you know? And then I think some other women came out of the woodwork and were like, well, he also did rape me. You know?
Yeah,
like,
there was a bunch of allegations against him from multiple people that came out during the case to explain what happened to them. And I think the judge ultimately went with 2 years because of the reasons. Yeah, it's the legitimate cases we have aren't considered rape, but were fraudulent. So it's like, I don't remember what it's called. I'd have to do the research. I'm not a legal expert, so I can't even go into it. But
sexual entrapment.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. And
I just made that
horrible.
Yeah, I just made that up. But I mean, it's basically like kind of how he acted. Like, it's such a weird story. But what I think is, it's just, for lack of a better term, delicious about it was, like, I really feel like he wouldn't have had the success in his predatory behavior without the fact that there were, like, all these weird feminists around him that he could, like, learn from. Like, feminism is a bunch of fucking bullshit designed, like, there's nothing good about it pretty much ever, and the good things about it are basically common sense. You know, it's just like self-esteem for dummies for women, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, the other stuff is largely just kind of like weird self-masturbatory intellectual angst for women who have issues. And when they start revealing themselves in that way, and they start talking about their sexual desires and how they want to be a slut and they want to play, all the fucking shit that they start.
Kind of like that article that I saw. I loved it. There was a feminist article that was, "Is it okay to be a feminist and still like it when a man comes on my face," or something like that? And you're just like, I guess it's okay. I mean, that's what you into. That's what you into, man. I mean,
yeah,
do you?
yeah, and it's like there's no
like compendium that tells you these things, and that's what kills me about it is feminism to me. And when I look up feminism, what I always imagined it was supposed to be is, okay, it is exactly what they say: the fight for equality, for women to have the exact same not abilities, but exact same opportunities as men.
Same ultimates.
Ultimately, it's looking for women to be able to do the same shit that men do.
That's the fake definition. You know what we should do is we should be fucking starting a goddamn change.org petition to get feminism in the dictionary definition of feminism changed to be something slightly more accurate, because that is a fucking fake ass definition that has no correlation. Like, that would be the equivalent of if you looked up Christianity in the dictionary and all it said was love thy neighbor.
Well, the other thing is the other meaning to feminism, though, is, to me, feminism was also, it's about empowerment.
No.
And that's what kills me.
Just kidding. No,
well, see, we're talking about the old meaning of feminism. We're talking about the past.
There is no. Okay, so feminism is a meaningless term because it's beyond a nebulous label. Like, okay, so Christianity is a far less nebulous label than feminism is, if it can even get less, but Christianity is a lot more specific. If we're gonna accurately try to define Christianity, how would you accurately try to define Christianity? You're on the spot.
Oh, shit. Well, to define Christianity, it is a monotheistic religion based solely around the belief in God and what his teachings and writings are within the Bible. I mean, that's just me trying to shoot off the top of my head, but there you go.
Think about linguistics. Why is it called Christianity? Why Christianity as opposed to Godianity?
I really don't know why they called it Christianity. Obviously because of Christ. Excuse me.
Yes.
Christ,
Yes. Okay.
So was Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So a monotheistic religion based around the notion that Jesus Christ was the Son of God that died for our sins and was reincarnated on fucking Easter, right?
Yeah. Of course, you're right. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm terrible when it comes to being put on the spot like that.
No, of course, yeah. So you mostly, but you were able to come up with a pretty concise definition of what it is. Probably because Christianity, because of Jesus Christ, because of the specificity behind the word, we at least have that to look to. We can sit there and be like, oh, well, I mean, it's based around this dude Christ because that's in the word. Well, we look at the word feminism. What the fuck does that mean? Feminism?
Feminism.
It's like a monotheist or a multi-theistic. It could be either or. Don't know. Based around the feminine, and what does that mean? Like, we don't fucking know. It's like some sort of ideology based around the feminine. That's the only fucking thing that we know about it.
And you know what? And the thing is, too, calling it an ism is just basically calling it a religion of its own in its own
Yeah.
right, too. I mean, and with the way it's treated, it might as well be a religion or a cult because the way they act about it.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
so
it's literally like, no, if you don't match, I mean, if you don't fit the view of what we call feminism, then you're ousted. You're not part of the cult. You don't get to be in the cool kids club here, you know?
yeah, oh, and there's plenty of people that they will say are not real feminists. I mean, ask any verified Twitter journalist feminist
Oh, God.
if Camille Paglia is a real feminist, and they will tell you gladly, no,
Well,
she doesn't count.
Well, I mean, and that's why you get these convoluted ideas out, like the Grid Girls thing, where these women are like, "Well, I enjoyed my job. I felt empowered with what I do," and you hear these women spouting like, "We're about empowering women and making them feel that they can do anything they want." Well, you kind of fucking shot yourself in the foot when you make that description with these women. They're like, "Oh, well, they're not really feminism, you know." That's not really what we preach. It's like, well, what the fuck are you preaching? Because it just sounds like to me you're about just shutting people down and making them all walk the walk and only follow your terms and your ideas on this. You know,
Yeah,
it's fucking ridiculous.
yeah, it absolutely is. And um, what I say, I actually made a whole video about this, but I think it bears repeating, and I think that like we should try to nip this in the bud and just like I maybe try to advocate to get the dictionaries changed, because like the dictionary definition of feminism has no semblance of reality. Like it has nothing to do with the linguistic properties of the word. Like you look at feminism, that has nothing to do with gender equality. That what it looks like linguistically, it looks like a word based around some sort of ideology having to do with the feminine. Like that's what it looks like. And then what it actually is in practice and historically is an ideology based around the demonization of um, an alleged force known as patriarchy, which is this idea that supposedly society has seemingly always been based around all men colluding either consciously or subconsciously with all other men to oppress all women. And feminism.
It literally sounds like something you would read in a conspiracy theory book. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, or some sort of like some weird religion book. Like it's
like an Illuminati of some form.
yeah, it's like it's almost even worse than that, because like the Illuminati is at least confined to, it's like the Illuminati conspiracy theory is at least confined to saying that it's these specific people that have done these things, and that like supposedly they can be tracked, and it's like fucking Ronald Reagan meeting at the Bohemian Grove and like some shit like that. But whereas feminism it's sort of just saying like all men, whether they're trying to or not, including gay men, are trying to fuck over all women to privilege all other men all the fucking time, despite every piece of evidence to the contrary, which is all of human history. Like everything we know about the nature of men, aside from maybe Islam, but even there's a debate to be had. But everything we know about the nature of men, for the most part, shows that most men spend most of their lives doing everything they can to make women happy. Like we know that, and to say otherwise is just completely delusional. And so yeah, like feminism is it's like to sit here and say, oh well, what feminism used to be and what feminism, and it's like, okay, well, when, like which like there were periods in which there was there was actually reasons that women could organize for things on behalf of women, like during the women's liberation era in the 60s and 70s, when women weren't allowed, like women could go to universities, but they would be expelled if they didn't get back to their dorms by 11 p.m.
Well, yeah, but you see, though, but back then, I mean, back then you were dealing with literal oppression of women. I mean, they weren't allowed to vote. They had to follow all these crazy
Well,
rules.
no, this is okay.
You know,
This
stuff
is
like
in
that.
the 1960s and 70s, they were allowed to vote.
Well,
but
yeah,
okay,
but even then, though, when you get to the point where you're coming at there,
Yeah.
back then they had actual issues. Today, the biggest issue that they're running with is this video game character is too sexy. And then you look at, but when you look at, but when you shine a light in a place where there is literal oppression, there is literal problems. They're like, no, you're just being racist because you're shining a light on, say, like Islam. It's like, well, they're actually being oppressed. No, they're not. They're empowered. So forcing you to wear a burqa and then giving you lashes is empowerment. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they don't want to actually have to. Okay, I think the thing is that feminists will only pick certain fights. They'll only pick fights in which the fight is easy. And so they'll always sort of like take these little half-assed steps towards getting what they want, but they'll never actually fight against any sort of like grave injustice. And that's sort of the nature of feminist organizing, because feminism only ever happens when it is something that benefits exclusively the female half of certain individual populations. It's never even women as a whole, the world over. It's always like feminist movements sprout up in individual countries or like Western nations as a whole. It's never actually, and it's always like selective histrionics from individual characters who want to make their lives better, and they're not really asking for anything that's actually like, okay, even getting women the right to vote, it's not like that was what that was. It's not like there were some people saying, hey, this is messed up that women aren't given the rights to vote, blah, 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 blah. What it really was that like almost nobody could vote. Like something like less than 5% of the population, or maybe less than 10%. But like the majority of men couldn't vote in, like the UK when the suffragettes really started. Most people could not vote, period. And the only people who could vote were like landowners. And but still men could be drafted for war. And so a number of men started organizing and saying, hey, if we could be drafted for war, we should be able to vote. Right? Only fair.
Yeah,
right?
That's fair.
And so they started organizing, and they were organizing for several years about that. And then and eventually in the United States it was going too. And then black people were starting to say, like, well, what about us? We should be able to organize. And so some of the early suffragettes started saying in the United States were saying that, like, well, black people shouldn't be given the right to vote before women. What about women? And eventually, due to like the combined weight of all of these special interest groups being poor white males, black people, and women, due to all of that, they gave the votes to just about everybody, including women. And then now fucking feminists take all the fucking credit for it. But that's not what happened. It's just not what happened.
Well, I know one of my, since we're on the topic of feminism, one of my favorite ones I like to talk about and is fucking this putting women in the combat roles in the military. A lot of people, there's a lot of people that are actually against it. Yeah. But one of the things that really irked me, I thought was hilarious about it, was I was perfectly fine. Hey, fine. If a woman can stand up and do all this shit that it takes to be a Navy SEAL or to be an infantry woman, go right the fuck ahead and do it. But the thing that I came with is they said, well, you're going to have to put them within selective service and sign up for the draft as well as the men, because they all can. And it was passed unanimously, that they're going to sign them up for the draft too. And then you heard this backlash from the women of like, well, we shouldn't have to be forced to do it. We shouldn't have to be signing up for the draft. I'm like, well, that's kind of what works when you ask for all that equality thing, you know?
That's actually why the Equal Rights Amendment never passed. Do you know what the Equal Rights Amendment was?
No, I don't think I heard about that one.
So the Equal Rights Amendment was something that came out of second wave feminism. Probably,
Okay.
it was probably introduced in the 1960s as a possibility, and so some of the more, probably radical feminists who probably believe in exterminating the male gender and then females will fucking fight all the fires or whatever and whatever.
What's her name? Like Dworkin or whatever type people?
Yeah, they were probably talking about this shit. They were saying that, the only reason that things are the way they are is because there's laws that make it so that women can be discriminated against in the workforce, and that there should be a law that makes it that it's legally impossible to treat men and women differently in our nation in any capacity, blah blah blah, and that should be, they tried to get it put all the way up through Congress and the Supreme Court or fucking whatever, like to make it like really really official, so that it was they tried to amend it into the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
So it would have been fucking the Bible of what was in our nation. And then they realized, wait, if this was in place, technically women could get drafted.
Yeah.
And then they lost a lot of support all of a sudden.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same thing that's happened now when they opened up everything for the combat thing. It's like, well,
yeah,
if these women can do this, then they're gonna go forth and be able to do it.
Yeah, and so it's funny because that's what they wanted to they talked about that as if it was this good thing, and then they realized what it would actually mean, and then they all kind of quietly admitted that it was a bad thing, and
and moved on.
yeah, except for they'll use it conveniently to say that there's still deep-rooted sexism in our nation. They'll say, well, the Equal Rights Amendment didn't pass. Like, if it's as if, like when it's convenient for them, they'll talk about that as if it was men. But it was like, no, the reason why it didn't pass is because you cunts didn't want it to pass, like.
Well, yeah, of course they will. It's as long as it suits their agenda. It was great. Yeah. But once you bring up the negative aspect, like, oh, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't like to talk about that part right there, or that didn't happen at all the way you say it happened, because they love to rewrite history. But I mean, I think we got like really off topic here. But one thing I was going to talk about was we were talking about these goons, these ghouls that are coming out of the anti-Gamergate side.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we were looking at was, have you noticed though that like that Matt Hickey guy, that it's not that they're all these men that are involved in it, they all sort of look like him. They all have that same look, same attitude, everything. It's really weird, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know about looking like him exactly.
They all got that goony ass beard. They all.
Well, that's just like a fucking hipster thing, like that, like it's like a. It looks like somebody didn't shave for a week.
It looks horrible.
Well, that's the kind of type of beard that I always have, because I'm from fucking that type of area where we always have beards like that. I just gotta say. So, but
I just know where I'm from. Like the ladies, they just don't like that sort of thing. They like you to be all clean cut, shaven. They like your short hair,
or like a full beard, probably.
Maybe a full beard. I think out here it's mainly because I'm surrounded by mostly military.
Where are you again?
I'm out in Virginia.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna mute myself. Okay. But I'm still here. I'm just gonna
no. It's fine. But like out here though, that's like the thing though, because there's so many military. The women they want the man to be clean shaven, stuff like that. Ain't so many soy boys out here, guys. I'm sorry to break that to you. But what I was just trying to say though is, when you look at these male feminists and you look at what they do, there's a reason why they're so heavily on the side of feminism. There's a reason why they're so heavily in there, and they all lack a lot of social skills. They all seem to be the same kinds of people that they all look like real weird, creepy people a lot of the time, and they all act like it too. And you see it constantly. And that's why I'm never surprised whenever I hear about one of these guys having allegations or criminal charges against them. And one of the other ones that we've seen was there was several of them that were convicted of, that were like, maybe not, I don't know how many, but I know there was at least one, take it back, at least one who was a convicted pedophile. Yeah, he was a guy named Amarox on NeoGAF. He's a mod there, and he got caught with a bunch of child porn on his phone.
Weird.
Yeah, he got some time.
Wait, on his phone?
Yeah, it was on his phone.
Wait, that's fucking weird, though.
I know, it's
like, who the fuck, like, downloads a bunch of fucking child porn on their phone? I mean, I don't know who, like, because, like, I you know, like, I've gotten paranoid about weird shit because of, like, the kind of shit, the type of shit where, like, you know, not just doxing, but, like, if somebody wants to fuck with you really, really bad, what can they do? And yeah. And so, like, you know, like, who's sitting around on their phone downloading child porn? That's really fucking weird. It seems like it's a lot easier to plant child porn on someone's phone, to frame them somehow. It's just that's not that wouldn't be my immediate thought if I wasn't paranoid due to fucking psychos like trying to fuck with me in the past.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing though about this guy. Like, he got caught with all this shit on his phone, but he led a trail that when people looked at it, they were like, holy shit, it's no surprise. He led a trail because he followed the pattern. All these people, I'm going to say it right now, all of them have a pattern that is established. You just have to look at it and you can see it. His pattern was, if you looked all over NeoGAF, he was defending pedophilia. And believe it or not, NeoGAF has a huge community of people that defend pedophilia. And when he came out with that, everybody was like, holy shit. I'm like, no, it's not surprising. He was defending it left and right. He was banning people that were calling them sickos for defending it, you know? And he was a mob.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah, theory out the window about maybe it being framed. I'm so naive. Okay. One of the things that I like to make this joke about myself, that I'm really bad at thinking like a pedophile. I don't know why. I'm just terrible at it for some fucking reason. I have no concept of how pedophiles think. And,
well, Prince, I think that's actually a good thing.
Yeah. No, like I was on a stream one time, and I thought it was funny to show pictures of this. There's no, this is fucked up. I could see why the people I was on with thought it was fucked up. There was some little girl who was named JonBenet Ramsey. Do you remember that?
Oh, I know who JonBenet Ramsey is. Everybody should know that case. That was a big case. They still never actually found out.
Yeah, they never
killed her, right?
They never closed it.
Yeah, it's still open.
Yeah, it was a weird thing, and
oh man, you making me feel old over here, man. I remember that shit.
Yeah, she was like this like weird little like fucking 5-year-old beauty queen or some shit that was like killed, and they suspected her parents, but they didn't really know, or some shit like that. I don't fucking remember.
Oh yeah. It raised a lot of controversy and questions because of the young children's beauty pageant scene.
Well, which are really fucked up. If you actually look at them, it's like it's a fucked up little thing. I mean, it's bad enough that we have, you know, parents pressuring kids to do anything, you know, but like And then it's also bad enough that people are like professional models and beauty pageant people where like they're not really doing anything besides like just trying to look pretty. But then when you combine the two, like it's just that's fucked up. You know, like we can all admit. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. Go
So
ahead.
so I was showing pictures of like John Benet Ramsey. I don't know why this came up. I don't remember. But it was in probably like Irate Bears stream or some shit. I was like, oh yeah, look at this. There's this girl. She was like killed, and he was like, okay, I shouldn't show that because that's like some weird pedo shit. And I'm like, well, she's not naked. I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, yeah, I don't think it matters to the pedos. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I don't really know how the pedos think exactly. Oh, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that shows like I since since being a late teenager, the youngest person that I've only had sex with like two younger guys, like largely two or three, less than five, maybe ever in my whole life, out of like over 100 men that I've had sex with. And almost every other guy has been like older than myself, largely by a lot, largely very hairy guys. I just don't think about pedophilia. It's not a concern of mine in the least.
I know. I mean, like the youngest woman that I ever slept with was like 18. You know, I never went younger than that after I turned 20. You know, I was like, yeah, we're in creepy man territory. Can't be doing that shit.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that like, okay, straight guys, young women are generally treated as the standard of beauty, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody admits that like Alicia Silverstone in Clueless was like really, really fucking hot, even though she was like 17. You know, like
well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's literally what you would say there too. And I didn't realize she was 17 in that movie. Actually,
I don't know if she was 17 in Clueless, but she was 17, or she was not 18 when she was in those Aerosmith videos when she first came out.
Yeah. I know she was young in those Aerosmith videos. I know
And
that.
they were pimping her out too.
Oh, I know. They were like, she was basically the hot chick on the hood of the car in those videos.
Yeah, it was weird looking back on like the fact that she wasn't even 18. Like so like they do that with straight people, but it's different with gay guys because gay men are well, we're attracted to men, and I don't know if it's just like the typical what people are attracted to, but like gay guys, despite the stereotype that gay guys are into twinks, most gay guys aren't. Like if my social reality of is accurate, and granted it is skewed towards a certain demographic because it's the guys that I have stuff in common with, sure, but the majority of guys that I know are into like masculine hairy guys, and if for no fucking reason, no other reason than the fact that that is seen as more desirable amongst the gay male community because it's slightly more rare than like it's not hard to find a girly guy that like shaves all his hair off. Like that's like there's lots of drag queens out there who fucking shave all their fucking hair off for some fucking reason. Like that's not all that hard to find. But like a sexy guy who acts like a guy but is still, handsome and confident and has hair and stuff like that. That is the hot commodity in the gay male community. Even if there's lots of that to go around, it's always well appreciated. So that's what's familiar to me, and it's like it's so funny that there's this stereotype about gay men being pedophiles, and it really largely doesn't match reality of my understanding. But again, I am biased. Sorry.
No. You make a great point there because I mean, and it makes sense. I mean, a gay man is attracted to other men. Obviously, I mean, That's the definition of it.
Mhm.
It makes sense though, because men are supposed to be masculine. They're supposed to be rough around the edges a lot of the time, you know, the provider type person. It makes sense that a gay man would be attracted to that, because that's what would be attractive to most women. You know, majority of women want a man that's a provider, that takes care of them, that is a man, that's not afraid to stand up and stuff. I mean, that's why I laugh when I see this shit about these beta type men that are just straight up cuck, as the word says, cucks, you know, that are just there to hold the hand of their woman while she gets banged by some more masculine dude. It's ridiculous to me. But, you know, it makes sense. And I mean, the only reason I would say that the gay men have this reputation of having pedophilia involved with them is because of a connotation that was put on them plenty of times in the past, simply because a lot of the cases that come out, you find out, is some gay guy that was hiding amongst the kids and was a pedophile, or, you know, the priest or the father fondle type and stuff like that. You know, I guess that's where that whole reputation comes from.
I think it's a lot of different things. I should actually make an entire video about where I think like all the different factors that come into creating the gay pedophile stereotype, because I don't think that it's any one thing. Like a lot of people will say, oh, it's the Greeks, or oh, it's propaganda from the 50s, but I think it's more complicated than that, and I could probably come up with a list of at least 4 different things that all contribute to it. Largely it's just that for homosexual males, there's not a whole lot of partners, like potential sex partners of their age around. So like when you turn 13 and you start knowing for certain that you want to have sex, and you want to have sex with men, you realize that your peers aren't trying to have sex with you. So you might start thinking about trying to find sex somewhere else. And if you are 13 and you want to have sex, because this was literally what Milo Yiannopoulos got in trouble for saying about himself. He was saying that, like, he was the predator, that he went out seeking relations with older men because he was horny. And yeah. I remember feeling that way. I didn't get it. I didn't find older men to have sex with, but like, and not that I necessarily tried, but it just didn't happen, you know.
But the thing is, like, teenage girls do the same thing, you know. They do exactly the same. They want to go out and they want to fool around with and sleep with older men, because
yeah, it does happen.
The older men, you know, they've got the money, they've got the car, they can afford to do the things that obviously
they're hotter and they're better in bed.
You know? Yeah, you know, it makes sense. It makes total sense. Just like us men, you know, we value the idea of sleeping with an older woman because of the experience and everything like that too. I mean, obviously, you know, your taste changes as you get older. You start to feel attraction to older women as you get older. But when you're younger, you're a teenager, wanting to sleep with a 25 to 30-year-old, you're like, yeah, hell fucking yeah, let's do it, you know? I think it's more of a biological thing. It's not so much a sexual orientation thing, honestly. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, it's kind of like wait, what? Who was the girl that was fuck, I can't remember her name. She played Queen Abu Gala or whatever.
Natalie Portman.
Yeah. Oh, I can have the Natalie Portman and the Angelina Jolie.
Exactly. You know, why not?
Yeah.
Look, I ain't gonna lie. I've seen some pretty hot older women out there. I mean, look at what's her name, Linda Carter. She's still pretty good looking for her age.
She was the original Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, she was. I mean, yeah. she's old as dirt now, but I mean, she's still pretty attractive. I mean, for older men. But it's just, I don't know. I agree with you. There's definitely a lot of factors that have to go into what built that reputation.
Yeah.
It can't just be one thing. There's got to be multiple things that lead to it. And I highly doubt child predatory behavior is the main factor of the whole case. You know, what you said makes perfect sense. The 13-year-old that wants to go out and get laid, going out looking for other men, that makes sense there. We see that with young women too. So it's definitely more biological than anything.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say something about I think I was talking about that video that I linked where the I'm a feminist bro and talking about
yeah, I need to save that so I can watch it later. I'm probably going to watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's one of my better videos, and it's really so it's because it was actually getting a lot of hits. It got a lot of hits in the 24 hours that it
You got a new fan, by the way. That woman that we're supposed to do I don't know yet if we're going to do a live stream or if we're just going to do just sit down and just me record us having a conversation. But that Elisa TV, she just sent me a message that she really liked your shit on your YouTube channel. Actually, she never heard of you until I threw the name in. I was like, yeah, Birds of Queens might want to get involved in this. So, yeah, she liked your shit, man. I figured you might want to hear about that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. No, that's nice for me to hear right now. I've been slightly lost a little bit of steam. I mean, I'm kind of glad at this point because it caused me to take a break, which I'm not gonna I'm actually gonna continue to be taking. I'm not gonna go right back to making videos tomorrow like I kind of thought that I was gonna do.
You have to, man. It'll wear you out, and plus you run out of things to talk about. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm building a schedule right now because I was very random with my video uploads because I just don't ever have time. I got the family, I got my work to deal with. Plus, I do want to sit down and relax. So usually, by the time the kids go to bed and I can start recording, I'm just fucking wiped.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was this thing where I spent years building up well over a year's worth of material to write about on YouTube. I was living, breathing, trying to work in the SJW world as both a musician and a writer and a theater maker and a quote-unquote activist. Now, granted, I didn't consider myself an activist. I had no goals in common with these fucking people, but considering I was one of the only talented artists, artist, musician, theater maker type people that they knew. Yeah, what's up?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you can you excuse me for just one moment? I have to go use the restroom, and I got to go take care of this little kid that just came down the stairs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'll be right back.
So, hi, 11 viewers. I'm sort of checking my Facebook while Nurgle is away because there's this fucking cunt he's trying to say some dumb shit. I know he's gonna try to say some dumb shit. Do you ever get those notifications on Facebook? And you it's not gonna be anything good. It's gonna be some asshole trying to say some stupid ass shit. That's what this is gonna be. Why is this not loading? Come on. There it goes. There it goes. Ah, well, he didn't say anything. So, what is the original? I'll just read it. So, somebody that is my friends wrote, he said, "Dear Repubs," he didn't say Republicans, he literally said Repubs. What do you think should be done about the rise in harassment and assaults against non-whites by whites? And so a number of people say some shit. The comment in question starts with, this one guy says, and I think that this is a good one, I liked it. He says, "My first thought, which was based on humor, snarkyisms, and a particularly open mind, how you ask sets up my mind set for an answer. Glad you're asking the Repubs. They are the ones that did Emancipation and 14th Amendment despite the Dem opposition." Okay, that was really, really horribly written, but basically what the guy is saying, he's saying that it's weird that you're asking the Republicans because the Democrats have more of a historical legacy of at least blatant racism, which is true, which is true, which is true. The Democrats are fucking racist, like really, really racist. So I might say in response, yeah, I hate to say it, as somebody who voted Democrat my whole life, but I'm starting to see the point behind saying the Democrats are the real racists. And my friend who posted this originally says, so what is the Republican platform's solution? I say, they seem to be starting by admitting that crime in inner cities isn't entirely cops killing blacks, that police negligence has led to endless murder and racial tensions, and that respecting our armed services for the work that they do might be better than endlessly resenting them, while simultaneously relying on them. They also account for more diversity of thought on university campuses, or they also advocate for more diversity of thought on university campuses to discuss such issues instead of the white male bashing that goes on all day, every day, as well as raising awareness about information monopolies like Google and Facebook, which have the exact same bias which they attempt to force upon their users. These problems are just beginning to be tackled, of course, so the long-term solution is unclear, but it is mainly right-wing people who speak about this stuff, and a few centrist liberal indie Ubers, and a few centrist liberal indie YouTubers like Sargon of Akkad, because I had to just name one. So this guy says, so when do we work past the identity labels to asking what is our solution? And then the friend says, are you asking when we will end the system of a party in majority and a party in minority? Not sure. Until then, I think our solution is the near term relies on the Republicans in majority providing some cohesive vision that D's
All right, I'm back.
Okay. That D's can understand and get behind. And then this next guy says, he says, I don't recognize the they you are talking about. Quite frankly, I would like to hear more from this they, although in a little less strident tone, characterizing what I've seen on college campuses as white male bashing doesn't quite chime in with what I think you are referring to, and seems to indicate a degree of insecurity on the part of the one who's doing the characterizing. But they, in quotes, must be drowned out in the noise from the White House and the Freedom Caucus and elsewhere, who are presumably not the they you are talking about, but these are the ones who hold the reins. The result is no policies, no nothing to stem the rise in harassment. In fact, they are making things considerably worse, which is what Andrew's question is about. And so I say, in response to that, I say, well, that paragraph was certainly needlessly abstracted and indirect. No surprise you work in the grant world, I suppose. say what you mean. If you merely haven't seen some particular evidence, does that mean you'd look at the evidence of relentless white male bashing if I showed it to you? If not, please just tell me that you aren't here to offer concerns in good faith, but rather with the intention of being patronizing, and then kindly stop wasting my time. And he says, gladly. And I give him a love response.
So what's going on, man?
Oh no, some just fucking dumb shit with fucking dumb Facebook friends. See, fucking this is the shit that really, really bugs the shit out of me. Is that like the skeptic sphere on YouTube, which
whoa, you getting some like you're crackling up there. What happened, dude?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your mic is crackling like while you talking. It might sound like maybe you messed with a wire or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you're like roboting really bad. Like it's almost staticky the way you're talking.
Wait, test.
Yeah, but it's really, really scratchy. It's staticky. Like I said, crackly almost.
Hold on.
You might want to check your connection to your mic. Fucking Facebook, man. Facebook can be a cancerous place.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you better now. You sound better.
Okay. So, it's just I'm just dealing with my fucking retarded ass fucking Facebook friends. Cause like the thing is like I still have almost about 1,400 or so Facebook friends, and I don't like almost any of them. Like I like
it's cool, man. I'm listening.
I probably like less than 100 of them, and granted, I don't like that many people anymore. I'm too old to start to like okay. Don't tell people this. It sounds bitchy, you know. But like, I don't know. If you go through periods in your life where you're like really, really popular to the point where everybody fucking wants to be your friend, which you know I have been through that period in my life multiple different times in multiple different cities. Like I was signed on a record label, and I was a DJ at raves when I was like 17, and I like all this different shit. Like there's reasons why people like wanted to be my friend, and this sounds like I'm just bragging about some sort of popularity and blah 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 blah. And I would probably see it that way if I was somebody else. But it gets to be a certain point in your life where you start to almost envy the people that never really cared that much about popularity and instead cared more about having solid friendships with good people. You know, it's like you realize that like that person that you knew in high school who only really had 6 or 7 real friends, but they're really good friends. Like that person was onto something the whole fucking time, apparently. And so I wasn't like that. So I know all these fucking like fair weather fucking friends who are these like SJWs or post SJWs, like people who were like kind of SJWs, and now they're just starting to like not even take red pills, but take fucking purple pills. You know, like they're just starting to get the memo that like, oh wait, maybe we shouldn't call everybody racist and sexist all the time.
Well, you're getting into that territory with people that are getting older, and one thing I've noticed is a lot of these people that are SJWs while they're younger. I mean, not all of them, but a large percentage of them, as they get older, they start to realize, ew, that's just not how it should work. What the fuck was wrong with me? Like, they don't get it. And as these people get older, they start to realize it because they start to have more life experiences. They start to pay closer attention to the political sphere and what's going on out there. You know, because I would say that I was probably a leftist and an SJW about maybe a couple of years ago, or well, not a couple, but maybe about 5-6 years ago, because I remember I was starting to get outraged over dumb shit that the SJWs rail about now. And then I started to realize a lot of things and started to notice different things. I was like, wait a minute. You know, I just think that's just the natural involvement of these people for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Still, of course, you still got your fringe actors. You still got your guys that are still in there. But I think that's why their ranks especially shrink so greatly, is because there's a lot more normal people out there than them, and they don't realize that. They think that their little circle, their little echo chamber, is everyone else out there, and it's just not.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope that made any sense I was talking about.
No. It's true. It is. It's absolutely true with these people. They 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 think that they know stuff, and well, what's weirder now is that they were so deliberately, like, the establishment, you know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there was a period in which the Democratic Party, the EU, the leftist establishment, all of these fucking people, like the globalists, blah, the leftist globalists, and now granted there isn't a right wing globalist, but maybe there fucking will be, like that. Like I am not putting it past these same people to all of a sudden start championing some sort of like Western patriotism as a collective, and then start championing men's rights, because they know it's going to sell to the masses. Like they're going to be like, wait, it's gotten to the point where feminism no longer sells. If we want to keep the people happy, let's sell them promises of men's rights, because that's what people want. Like I would not put that past them. And everybody calls me crazy, and they always call me crazy until they realize that I'm right. Because that would be a clever strategy. Maybe not for 2020, but for 2024. Start trying to sell a ticket of like men's rights politicians, because feminism didn't even fucking work in 2016. So, but like there was a period where social media was new. Everybody was on social media, and then Occupy came along, and Occupy showed that like with social media, citizens could organize with each other, and that was a very dangerous thing to the establishment, because this protest grew organically like wildfire on like all of the continents, except for maybe Antarctica, except for maybe there was one on Antarctica. But like basically every fucking single continent had Occupy protests in it. And that had never happened ever in all of human history. Like, so that was like this like crazy thing. And they started thinking to themselves, well, how can we control this? How can we control this? And so they started trying to like push propaganda on the American people, and not just the American people, but everywhere. They were trying to like push all this like stupid propaganda, and that definitely did happen. And it became, they thought that they were going to be able to push this propaganda on people and ensure that Hillary Clinton would be put as our president. And then everything would be okay, because she was going to get rid of freedom of speech anyway, because she didn't give a fuck, because she was a fucking psycho. Like,
she fucking terrified me, man.
yeah, well, because like the freedom of speech was practically gone prior to the election anyway. And so thank God she fucking lost. But post winning the election, a lot of people have just sort of like abandoned the sort of the fight for a free and open internet, and I don't mean in terms of the net neutrality thing, but I mean like in terms of because I personally don't believe that net neutrality was any sort of magical solution to anything. It was just a really long list of regulations that were largely very arbitrary. But
well, what eventually killed, like Occupy was these people, I guess you would say, that were SJWs or these ideologues or identity politics focused people. They kind of came into the group and like really, really ruined everything that Occupy was about. And I would honestly say that there were some actors that were probably placed in there to purposely derail and destroy it because of, the governmental fears over it. Because, yeah, you're right. Occupy really showed the world how people can organize on social media and get protests rolling like crazy. And we're still seeing it with some of the stuff that happens with Antifa, shit that did happen with the craziness in Charlottesville. And another good example was the protests that occurred in Libya. That one guy named his kid Facebook because of the Libya protests. And I think you're right. There's definitely...
Wait, really? He named his kid Facebook?
Yeah, there was a Libyan Libyan family. They had a child, a daughter, and he named the child Facebook because Facebook was the integral factor of organizing all the protests that were happening in Libya during that time. Because remember, there were protests happening in Libya. They started to happen in Bahrain and many other places. I don't know if you remember all that. It was shit, I want to say it was probably about 2012, 2013, maybe. I'd have to look it up. It was a long time ago. It was back during the Obama administration, definitely.
That's intense.
Yeah, he named his kid Facebook, but I mean, that was that point where people started to really learn and understand how strong social media actually is. And now that we're at that realization, and then they're at the realization that it can be utilized for both the left and the right, since it's mostly leftist, obviously they're trying their best to wane it down so that the right side can't really do what they want to do. The fringe left side on everything. I mean,
oh yeah, so that's why I was gonna bring this. That's why I brought this up in the first place, is that like it does seem like they're trying to like divide everybody, like the way that YouTube's algorithms, man, fucking YouTube's algorithms, even just a year ago, but like especially a year and a half ago, you could find exactly what you wanted to find on YouTube easily, and now it's just like 75.
You can't now.
You can't even search for it anymore. Like it's like fucking finding a needle in a haystack, searching exactly for what you're looking for. Like you can pretty much know the exact title of a Sargon video and search for it and say something Sargon, and if you get one word wrong, it's like not going to come up, and instead it's going to like a bunch of fucking like Jimmy Kimmel will come up, like
well, like you could even do that, like search something Sargon, and you'll get like maybe 2 pages where Sargon's videos don't even appear on it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen that happen just looking up like random videos because I gotta, as YouTubers, we gotta go and rip some. We don't not so much steal people's content, but we gotta rip like parts of videos to utilize in our video to talk about that subject or that case. Yeah. And sometimes it's just difficult as fuck just to find what you're looking for. I've gotten to that point now where if I find a video where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be using this part for later, I've gotten the habit of just tweeting it or DMing it to myself in Twitter now.
Yeah, I can understand. I can totally understand. And so like, it's weird for me because I feel like, there's all these people who are like skeptics, and, I would say more than 50% of the kind of skeptic sphere, as we would call it, which actually is really the anti-SJW sphere. I think that's really is what brought us together. Some people were just general skeptics. I would be one of those people because I was that same kind of fucking skeptical asshole during the Bush years completely. And I was the same kind of skeptical asshole during the Obama years. I mean, not for the first part, but certainly by 2013 or so, I was like, wait, something's going wrong. Why is everybody trying to say that only white people can be racist? You guys are fucking full of shit. Like I was speaking out. And like I have always kind of been like this. Most people in our sphere of YouTube are people that come from a more or less conservative background, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like due to the changes, like due to the fact that social media people are trying to segregate the crowd again, like they knew that we were all united and we were all talking to each other and like, hey, why the fuck are you and I talking? Like Lord Nurgle is talking to Prince of Queens. That's weird. These guys would normally not talk in the real world, but like it turns out that we have a lot to talk about, and like we can bounce ideas off each other even though we have a totally different life experiences. That once that started happening, and like because like I've learned a lot from people like you, and several other people. I have my whole video called 10 things left-wing voters 10 things the left doesn't understand about right-wing voters. And that video has, I'll look how many views it has as of now, because it has a lot. Like it has and like granted, I don't remember if I got anything explicitly from you as an individual, because it was from a lot of people that like yeah. when I made that video, it has 69,000 views. So I mean, that's not exactly enough to swing an election, and it didn't happen before the election, but it certainly could have influenced a lot of people, could have influenced enough people to fucking matter. And so once they realize that these people are like, once they realize that people like myself are making these videos, and then people like you are getting to know random gay guys from like urban mecca cities, they don't want that, because it's so much harder to control people in that kind of way. So they're cutting down the communication lines, and that's where all the censorship and stuff comes in. But I still have all my fucking Facebook friends, and
yeah.
And so I look at these people, and it's amazing. Like all these people on YouTube are like, oh, SJWs have vanished. We should talk about something else. Let's talk about YouTube blood sports. And it's like, oh, shut the fuck up, you guys. You guys are just bored. And it's because you were always bored. The only fucking reason that you ever even started talking shit about SJWs is because you were bored. And it's like, but the SJWs haven't gone away. They just either they stopped making YouTube videos, or you just stopped being able to find their YouTube videos. I'm not sure which.
Well, the thing is like we can sit here and we can rag on SJWs all day long, right? But eventually we are just going to repeat the same things over and over again. But like people like you and I on YouTube, instead of just constantly ragging on the SJW stuff, we start finding other subjects to discuss and talk about that may not even have to do with SJWs. I'm like what I'm doing now. Like I started just kind of talking about anything and everything I enjoy. I started talking about, I did a video about the Predator movie coming out. I've been covering the comic book, ComicsGate stuff a little bit. But my next video coming out tomorrow is all about me just sitting here talking about representation and relatable characters. Essentially, yeah, is it an SJW type topic? Yeah, but I'm not sitting here doing Twitter drama. I'm not talking about how stupid something an SJW said is, because this shit does get old. And these people, that's how you tell who the real YouTubers are, the ones that want to evolve their channel and do new things and continue to do things, compared to those that are like, oh, well, this doesn't give me views anymore. I might as well just stop because I ain't got nothing else to talk about. And then just move on to the next hot topic. it's just, we just do what we want to do. And the skeptic community, to me, just had a lot of people that were just snagging on that anti-SJW pill just because they could.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people it was just the most entertaining thing at the moment was looking at crazy fucking feminists and crazy fucking we was Kangs people for lols. And that's understandable. It's like, you could be an 11-year-old kid and think that a bearing video was like super funny,
Oh yeah. But that's the thing though, is, I mean, these people haven't gone away. We know they're still there. There's just, obviously, look at the grid girls and all that. They're still there doing their dumb shit. It's just, after a while, you're just kind of repeating the same thing. And then you end up with people like, I won't say like alt-right, but you end up with people that just start to see it in everything, just like the SJWs see identity politics and everything. Like, one of the key things I talked about in one of my videos was the SJW ghosts. I don't know if you ever heard that term before, or the term of just chasing ghosts, right? You probably know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Explain it to me.
Well, the idea is that, say you watch a movie and you walk away from the movie thinking, "Oh God, there was identity politics all over it," and then when you stop thinking about that and you go back and watch it, and you realize, wait, no, this is actually talking about both sides of an argument. This actually isn't really what it is. Like, Punisher's a great example.
Didn't see it.
If you get a chance, sit down and watch the Punisher series on Netflix. I'm going to tell you right now, it's one of the best series I've seen so far from the Marvel.
What do you think of the Daredevil series?
The Daredevil series is really good, which is where
I hate the Daredevil series, so no, I'm not going to watch.
The Punisher is so different. It's, rather than being about, basically, I'm Batman, the Punisher, it takes a lot of cues. It talks about a lot of issues today, mainly the idea of coming home from war and trying to reacclimate into society. It does focus heavily on PTSD, on the military, soldiers. Mm-hmm. It's a really good series. But people the people on the left and on the right were trying to call Punisher an alt-right, fantasy with guns. And then you had the anti-SJWs that were like, no, they kept pushing leftist propaganda and making military veterans look bad. Because you had like one dude that was spouting the sort of alt-right type rhetoric that you hear typically from these people, the stereotypical Trump supporter portrayal, like, it's all those goddamn leftists or feminists and all the media shit, those people. The ones that you see stereotypical in media portrayal. Well, you see him, and then you think that initially, then you start realizing that most of this is showing the hypocrisy behind not only him, but everything else, because you find out, oh, well, he's actually a stolen valor veteran. He's not really been to war. He doesn't really have a problem. Yeah, this is in the Punisher.
So he's just like so fucking psycho.
Well, yeah, this dude's just crazy. He's just an attention seeker, right? And then you have not only the dynamics of the Punisher and one of the villain characters in the story that's all about, dealing with, now that the war is over, I'm home. How do I deal with learning how to live normal human life now instead of living on the edge anymore, like I was going to get killed every day, and having to kill people? And Punisher, the whole focus was all about that. But you had this whole thing where they pushed the gun control agenda in it. And you were thinking, oh God, no, don't do this. Please don't do this. But in reality, you discover that they're showing both sides, saying, this is gun control, but this is also why gun control is not working. It's really wild, but you don't see it. If you're an SJW, all you see is the leftist side of things. If you're an alt-righter, all you see is the right side of things.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know, and the thing is the truth is like this wasn't an SJW alt-right agenda anywhere in there. It was just a series that tackled hard subjects.
And maybe we're actually going to have cool television again, which is why I'm so glad that I'm starting to. I actually have some.
Go ahead.
I might have some things in the works for actual like scripted, because like that's what I've always wanted to do, is actually like write for television and shit. Like that's what I'm trained in. That's what I think I'm actually best at. I don't want to be sitting there talking into a fucking microphone for the goddamn rest of my life. Like, no, I'm not Rush Limbaugh. Jesus fucking Christ. But like, I think that maybe we can start to have more of that, because it was already getting to a point where like even the most SJW show would be attacked by SJWs. There was nothing that you could do, no matter who you were, that wouldn't be attacked by SJWs. Like,
oh, I know.
Fucking, Walking Dead. See, you look at that and you think that's a pretty non-racist show. To me, all sorts of fucking people of different colors mixing and working together and blah, 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 blah. Nope, they're calling that racist all the time. New Girl. There's fucking 2 black guys on that goddamn show, and they're like, well, yeah, but it's still kind of weird because they're not as included as, because the main couple is a white girl and a white guy, and that's problematic. And it's like, okay, but there's just one couple.
Well, not only that, like they even went after the Black Panther. Remember, they tried to say we need to boycott Black Panther because Michael B. Jordan is apparently dating a white girl.
Yeah, I heard about that. And okay, they even fucking went after. There was a movie called Tangerine. Did you hear about this?
I don't think I heard about Tangerine. Okay. I got like maybe 5 more minutes, so yeah, go ahead. Let's roll with it.
Yeah, okay. So Tangerine was a very extraordinarily low budget movie. It's actually kind of an entertaining movie, to be fair. Like, if you want to see some like legit indie movie, kind of, it seems like it would have been made in the 1990s. It was made by some trans women in LA or whatever. At least they acted in it. And it was shot all on like iPhone 7s or iPhone 6s or something, which yeah.
I'm looking at some screenshots right now. It does look like some weird shit, man. It looks interesting.
It's like some weird like it would have been made by like the filmmakers of Kids or fucking Gummo, you know what I mean? And it's like 2 black trans.
Go ahead. I'm reading the synopsis. Go ahead and explain it. It's actually a pretty good synopsis. I like it.
No, it's an entertaining movie. It's an entertaining movie. It's like 2 black trans women. One of them gets let out of jail. She was in jail for like 30 days, and the other one picks her up, and she's on a mission to go like find her pimp or some shit, and like and then it turns out that the pimp, that she's like in love with her pimp, and then it turns out that the pimp was sleeping with some like white girl who's like a cisgender woman. And so then they go find the white girl, and she carries her around by the hair for a few blocks, and she's like, bitch, you ain't gonna run away from me, fuck you. We're gonna and
that explains the scene that I'm looking at right now, this picture.
Yeah, because the white girl like figures out like who she is. She's like, oh shit, it must be the guy's fucking tranny ass girlfriend, I better run. And she was like, oh hell no, you ain't gonna get away from me. And so she's like, she has her by the hair and like walks around with her by the hair. And it's one of those situations where like she's not like beating the crap out of this woman. It's more like she's dragging her mostly for public humiliation factor, because the woman knows that if she tried to struggle, then the woman would probably kick her ass. And so it's not like any sort of like massive brutality against this woman, really. It's mostly just like just vague intonations at violence, but she never punches her or anything. But of course, even though this is a black trans woman, there were people trying to say like this movie promotes violence against women and shit. And
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So like, like even at the like I don't know, like I really want there to be a movie about a black lesbian in a wheelchair just so we can see them accuse the movie about the black lesbian in a wheelchair of being patriarchal somehow, because they would do it apparently.
Well, I mean, the thing that I've always said, and you and I both know this, and we said it forever, you cannot make these people happy no matter what. You could make the most PC, friendliest film to minorities, then it's all inclusive. You could put as many Mary Sues in it as possible, and they will still bitch. They will find something wrong with it. And here's the reality of it. And because I got to get going here in like a minute, so let me go ahead and finish this thought. The reality is, you can't give these people even a millimeter.
No, you can't.
You give them a millimeter, an inch, they're going to take miles from you in leagues. I mean, they don't just take miles, they take leagues from people.
Well, yeah. Ultimately, is because their whole mentality is based around this notion that the world is unfair to them, and what they need to accept is that no, the world is unfair to literally everybody, and therefore it's unfair to all of us. Oh shit. Okay, you should probably go because I'm getting called by my food delivery. Okay,
it's cool, man. It's cool. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Hi. Are you here? Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna end this stream now. Hope it was entertaining for you guys. Bye.